The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner,
with the handheld microphone, and the demented and fermented
W. Thomas Baker.
that guy right there. We know him. We love
two
him.
turntables and a microphone.
You can call me Wayne.
Are there turntables here? I mean, we have.
We
like
could pretend.
We've got two big tables and a bunch of microphones.
I'm just going to assume that somewhere in
two
this
big
building,
tables and a microphone.
we can go with that. I mean, there was like a fancy couch that we took the pictures on. There's got to be a turntable around here somewhere. Like you guys,
We're not at Fetish.
I know, but there's weddings that are done here. There's got to be a turntable that is still laying around somewhere.
The DJ brings that.
There's a digital one.
Okay, I
Is
mean
there
that counts.
a turntable in the building?
It helps when you speak into the microphone.
Yes, that is true.
Digital.
Digital. Well, we have traveled far and wide, but we are here, and it's totally worth it. I'm very excited. We are at Wyndridge Farm in Dallastown, Pennsylvania. It was a nice little road trip from Philly. We went through Delaware and
Was it
Maryland.
nice?
It was scenic, I will say.
It was long. But a lot of it was scenic. When we got off the interstate, it was scenic.
Yeah. It was really just
It
95.
is beautiful
95
here.
was terrible. Everything else was pretty good.
I like how we start every podcast episode talking about the traffic on the way
Because
there.
there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. But we have a couple of guys here who are kind enough to donate some time and food and beer and cider, because that's what you guys are known for. But we'll go round robin style. We have
Scott Topol.
and
Pete Kelch.
Nate Fochman.
gentlemen, thank you so much for having us out here. I'm so looking forward to this.
Your name is so close to Kolsch.
Well, it originated from Kolsch, but then when we moved to America about 3 generations ago, they added an E instead of the umlaut and totally fucked up the pronunciation.
Well, you are Pete Kolsch in my book.
Pete Coles. It sounds like a mascot. Like what was it?
Probably is.
Keith Stone.
Keith Stone.
It's the craft answer to Keith Stone.
Why is this
Pete
the second
Coles.
episode we've talked about Keith Stone?
We like to say
Wait,
it was
I think we
destiny.
have one more person too.
It was
By the way,
destiny.
No, we.
did
we
you
got
say
to-
your name?
Oh yeah,
Nate
we got
Fochman.
Oh,
Yep, okay.
I was so distracted by the whole Kolsch thing that sorry, Nate.
You're good. Everything's good.
Wow. I mean, I can already tell it's going to be a wonderful episode.
Hey Dan, if I'm a fan of Beer Busters and
Why would you be?
I go on the internet, where should I go to find Beer Busters?
www.pornhub.com
/Beer Busters.
/Beer Busters.
No.
Don't do that. Don't do
Or
that.
rather,
That's not a
no,
thing.
don't do that. Do that when you're not listening to us, because it's weird otherwise. BeerBustersPodcast.com.
Statistically speaking, someone's probably watching porn while they're listening to this.
The pause. Now we have a visual.
Exactly. And, of course, the Twitters and the Instagrams at Beer Busters. And on the Facebook, we are Beer Busters Podcast, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Don't forget, you can also go to patreon.com /beerbusters to sign up, become a patron of the podcast, donate as little as $1 a month to help us keep the train running, and you get awesome behind-the-scenes perks. Our favorite, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
A horse is a coursed. Last call.
Last
call.
call.
The bonus podcast
Yes.
that only our patrons get to hear. And we have a phone number, don't we?
We do. 805-991-BEER, which is 805-991-2337. No texts or messages since the last episode.
Come on, guys, get on it.
And coming next week, 3 guys on a couch. A video you won't want to miss.
3 guys, 1 couch.
Ooh, you could start in the bus and like have a found footage
Oh,
kind
the
of
bus.
thing going
Foreshadowing.
into the back. Yes.
So, in today's episode of Beer Busters, a bus, a couch, beer, cider, food.
Yes, exactly.
And a creepy van.
And
That
a
was
little
great.
bit of news. It was a scramble to find some news before we started recording, but I found a couple of things. I have to move my microphone because I didn't plan this out right, because my computer is off to the left and the microphone was to the right. There we go.
Paint a picture, Dan.
Painting a picture.
Theater of the mind.
That's exactly what it's all about. Out of Denver, Call to Arms Brewing Company will release Shirtless Putin Nuzzling with Dolphins on Thursday, March 22nd. This bourbon barrel-aged Imperial Baltic Porter with sweet bloom coffee offers flavors of vanilla, oak, chocolate-covered cherries. This is the second batch brewed of this beer, and it's the 15th release in their Carriage House series. You can't unsee the imagery of a scantily clad Vladimir cuddling up to these friendly mammals of the sea, said Chris Bell of Call to Arms Brewing. It's a bold image fit for a bold beer. It's a true Baltic porter. Shirtless Putin Nuzzling with Dolphins, I love the name, was brewed with Czech Pils yeast and started as the brewery's Shirtless Putin on a horse. 7 different malts were blended and used in the original brew, along with the addition of Bravo hops, and the beer was then aged in 4 Roses bourbon for months.
I believe the first iteration of that may have made an appearance in a previous edition of Libation or Fabrication.
It probably has.
It sounds familiar.
And we probably don't remember.
You don't. No,
Yep.
you obviously don't remember.
Right.
That's why I brought it.
Thank you for staying on top of that, Wayne. Now here's
Thanks for remembering
Yes.
stuff.
Oh, I see what your next story is. I shared this on Facebook.
You did.
And it got very divisive
Is this the
responses.
glitter beer?
It
It's
is
the glitter beer. Who doesn't love glitter? Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah. It's
Pete
the
loves glitter.
best.
Everybody loves glitter.
No.
I like the Goldschlager.
Oh God, I remember Goldschlager.
Did not know how to feel about that article when I read it the other day.
Yeah, it's
it's
a little weird. It's nearly impossible to get out of your cleavage after a night on the town, this article says, but it's festive as hell. And now, thanks
Okay.
to edible glitter, your digestive system can be as sparkly as your 1990s eyeshadow palette.
Does it still glitter when it comes out the other end?
My eyeshadow is still sparkly, by the way. The 90s are back.
The 90s are back. I mean, there's a whole radio station dedicated to that on SiriusXM. There's multiples.
Stop plugging radio.
Hey, listen, it's just
Satellite radio.
the former overlords. Anyway, sparkly cupcakes and glitter lattes have had their moments to shine, and now food-grade glitter products have finally infiltrated the traditionally male-dominated world of craft beer. I like how they say finally, as if we've been really waiting for glitter beers.
And why do you assume glitter beers are for females?
I probably won't read the entire article on air, but
Please
most
don't.
of the people that they interviewed were women brewers. Due to
So who made this beer?
And why?
There's a few.
Okay.
Due to the difficult nature of cleaning glitter out of brewing equipment, glitter beer may not be the next big mainstream trend, but it's definitely gaining popularity.
Hashtag brewer problems.
Breweries like Ska Brewing in Durango, Colorado, Three
been
Weavers
there.
Brewing in Inglewood, California, and Bold Missy Brewery in Charlotte, North Carolina are just a few of the rising number of brew houses who have released glitter-filled elixirs. I've done a few glitter beers, and I'm absolutely smitten with them, says Erica Deanda, who is the head brewer of Minocqua Brewing Company in Wisconsin. I think they are fun and bring a new level of uniqueness to beer.
They bring something.
This is just...
I mean, it sparkles.
So I understand it's a crowded market and all, but this is something that gets kind of weird. And like they said, too, if you got to clean out the brewing equipment, what the hell are you going to
Well,
do?
I got to imagine also, like, at what point during the process are you adding the glitter? I would imagine you
it
just
has to be at the end.
stick it in the keg or the bottle or whatever
Yeah.
at the very,
It
very
has to be
end.
post-fermentation.
Like,
Yeah.
after everything, like post-conditioning, just like, okay, glitter.
Put it in the pint glass before you pour it in there and
Okay,
let it just
And
swirl
finally,
around.
glitter.
And finally, just a dash of glitter.
Dry hopped with glitter.
The article goes on to mention, to your point, Wayne, what's it like when it comes out the other end? Apparently, the food grade stuff gets totally
imagine
broken
it
down.
dissolves,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's
So that's no fun.
Your
So
pee's
nothing
not-
about this is fun.
Your pee and your poop aren't going to be glittery and all. But that was kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about
I don't know.
it.
I just don't get the point.
Me neither.
It's just a.
Is there one?
No, it's like a.
It's just
it's
a
stunt
gimmick,
Thing.
yeah.
It's a gimmick thing.
In a year, will anybody remember this? I think that's the question we have to ask. I'm more excited for
No,
the-
in a year, it'll come up on a Happy Fun Time games, and you guys won't remember that this happened at
You're right.
all.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're right. That's a fact.
I'm more excited for the Putin and Dolphins beer. Because let's be honest, that screams my name. Just the kind of beer, not the fact that it's Putin with dolphins. But I'm also excited for what we have.
These are a few of my favorite things.
That's
Bump,
true.
bump.
I am excited for what we have on tap here at Wyndridge Farm because it's been a long time coming, and I've wanted to get here ever since I first had a taste of your beer. I mean, I'm sure we've had it at fests. In fact, I think
Little Big Beer Fest.
Little Big Beer Fest for sure. But the German one in Philly, they had the cider stuff in the
Oh, the
basement
beer fest,
last year when we
yes.
were there, and I remember some of my favorite ones from the basement were Wyndridge Farm. So I have to then ask, which came first, the cider or the beer?
The cider came first.
Cider definitely came first. That is what I thought.
December 2013.
Okay.
That's when we rolled it out.
Okay. So when did beer get added to the portfolio then?
The beer got added back in, I think it was around November of 2014.
So pretty quick.
Yeah.
Was that always the plan?
I think more or less.
Okay.
Yeah, it just turns out it takes a little bit longer to build out the brewery.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and the size they wanted to go at, like right off in the beginning, it was just took a little bit of time to build it out, and the cider was a little bit easier to get going right off
Yeah.
the bat.
It is quite an impressive facility up there. How big is the brewing system?
So our brewing system is a 30-barrel brew house, and then we have 4 30-barrel fermenters, 4 90-barrel fermenters, and 4 150-barrel fermenters.
Holy crap.
That's a lot of fermenting.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
Do you, when you add glitter to your beer, do you do that in a separate room? Like, do you have it like totally?
We're in
cordoned
that
off?
room. This
This is the glitter room.
the sprinkle room.
Actually-
This is the sprinkle room.
Yeah.
We have a cannon
Is this-
at the front end of the brewery,
That you
and
shoot.
when I just blast it off
The glitter gun.
as we're packaging.
I
And
imagine-
it just rains glitter.
There's a guy
inside
that comes
the
in
brewery.
once a week for 1 hour, and that's all he
And
does.
he just shoots glitter.
Yep, all week.
I want that job. I
He's
won't lie.
got a onesie just full of glitter.
It's got to be a popular stop on the tour. Anyway, serious
So,
questions.
is the
Why?
beer making area and the cider making area, is that the same place, or are those two things separate from each other?
It's the same place. We share tanks, just really on top of our cleaning regimes, and
I'd imagine. you
And
have
I
to
guess
be.
that's legal in Pennsylvania.
gonna say, is
because
there,
I
like,
know
any
if
legal
there's
issues
like
with
a
that?
brewery and a winery or
Yeah.
brewery and a distillery, doesn't there have to be some sort of wall or some sort of separation? But I guess for the reason I asked the question is for cider making and beer making, I guess there does not have to be a division.
So originally there was a winery, which is in the
Right.
originally when Wyndridge opened up, you needed to be a winery to sell cider and produce cider, and then eventually the brewery license came and things like that. So it's been an evolution in Pennsylvania that coincidentally the time when Wyndridge opened, the laws have evolved and changed from there. So
quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So what has been 4 years ago or 5 years ago as rule is not the same today. Yeah.
Now, I'm very curious about your backgrounds, Scott and Pete, because I know that you both have, I don't want to say you've traveled a long way, but you both have pretty impressive backgrounds. So, Pete, why don't we start with you, because you're first on my list here. Talk about how you sort of, your journey into coming into this head brewer role here at Wyndridge.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got interested in beer back in college, as most people did. Probably had a little bit too much. Started drinking Keystone Light. As it turns out, that was our beer of choice in college. But
Keystone, Pete Kolsch.
once I got an internship, probably I think it was around my junior year of college, I had a little bit more disposable income and started getting into craft beers. Some of the first beers that started popping up in Ohio, where I'm from, were a Dogfish Head, Elevator Brewing Company's right in Columbus. A few of like the OGs of the Columbus area were sort of what I was drinking. And I just got really interested in craft beer and the stories. I read Sam's book about how he started Dogfish Head, and I actually went and helped Elevator Brewing in Columbus do one of their bottling days back when I was still in school. And from there, I started homebrewing on my little apartment stove. I took my mom's 5-gallon canning pot, one of those big black canning pots with white speckles all over it. Kind of looks like a witch's cauldron.
Classic.
So, jumped right in. Just started with all grain brewing, little cooler mash tun. I actually stole the drink cooler that we used to use for parties in college and modified it into a mash tun. So I don't know how my roommates felt about that, but that's kind of how it all got started. I was just into it. Started brewing once a week from there. So. After college, I got a job as an engineer with DuPont, a huge chemical manufacturing company. And, I mean, I was working at a chemical plant that was probably about 15 city blocks.
Wow.
Just ridiculously huge. Like the ones that you drive by on the highway with the big cooling towers just pumping steam into the atmosphere. And you're like, wow, that's terrible.
I would not want to work there.
So I worked there for about 3 years, and I was like, man, this is not what I want for my life. I'm not passionate about making plastic. My background was in engineering. I have a degree in electrical engineering, and so that's what I was doing. I got the job because I had my degree in electrical engineering. That's what you do after college. You get a job with a big company. You settle down, the whole 9 yards. So luckily, my wife was nice enough to me to see how miserable I was working in that kind of world, and knew that I was always passionate about craft beer. I started brewing every single Sunday at our house. That was my routine. I was like, I'm going to brew every Sunday and learn as much as I can about brewing. And she was like, we should do this. I found Wyndridge Farm on Pro Brewer. They were looking for someone to take over their packaging operation. They needed somebody with a background that could help them install some of the brewing equipment. And at the plastic facility, I actually had been an engineer there, helping fix up their packaging line, helping them package plastic products, which, I mean, pretty boring stuff. Didn't love it. Didn't taste very good.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I moved on to find these guys. they agreed to take me on at a huge pay cut, and
Yes, but when you lost in pay, you gained in
I gained in satisfaction.
value of what you do with
The
your
man
life.
has
Yeah.
a bus now. I mean,
does have a
he's
bus.
achieved a lot of success.
Yes, clearly things are working out.
That
So-
is the benchmark of success.
My
when
wife-
you can buy a school bus, you have made it.
Like I said, my wife was nice enough to take a huge leap with me. We both quit our careers, moved out to York, Pennsylvania, which, yeah, it has the word York in it, so everyone assumes I was moving to New York. But
Yeah, I guess if you're not like from relatively close, you
Yeah.
might. Yeah.
turns out not a lot of people in Ohio know what York is.
Yeah.
So when I told everyone I was moving here, they were pretty confused. But the brewery wasn't even built yet. The tanks were sitting out in the parking lot when I moved out here. And I was working on the packaging line for a year, hanging out with Scott in the old cidery, which is just a little like 2-car garage with a bunch of milk tanks below it. So kind of thought to myself, I am out of my freaking mind when I moved out here. But it's worked out really well. After about a year, the previous brewers transitioned out. One of our brewers kind of left on short notice, and I basically stepped up and was like, guys, just let me brew a batch. I know what I'm doing.
Put me in, coach.
I've been working with them for a year, and we needed beer right away. So it was about it was like noon, and I had just finished packaging up a bunch of our products, and our owner was just like, Pete, we need you to brew the beer today. And I had kind of crypt notes of the recipe for Barn Dog, our chocolate vanilla porter. And I had to figure out how to actually turn that into a real recipe from the kind of scribbles that were left behind. Started brewing the beer about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you guys know anything about
how late were you here?
how long it takes to make a beer, I was here figuring out how to use the system until about 2 o'clock in the
I
morning.
was going to say, especially because they were like, throw on some boots and make some beer right now. Like, okay.
Yeah, we kind of need this product if we want to continue to be in business. So.
Yeah.
On a seamless Canadian brew house.
It's always seamless.
So how did that batch turn out?
That batch, all the numbers were hit. We hit the
Yeah.
original gravity. It fermented out, hit the final gravity numbers, tasted awesome, in my opinion, at the time. If I went back in time and tasted that batch now, I don't know how I
be
would
pretty
feel
critical.
about it, but
Yeah.
I was pretty excited at the time
was-
with how it turned out.
At
And
the very least, adequate.
the rest is history, as
That's
they
cool.
say. So that was about 2.5 years ago now. And since then, I've been the head brewer here at Wyndridge Farm. A lot of our recipes have transitioned over to my own recipes. So our Hunt Series products, which are a rotational series that we do every year, are all kind of come right out of my head and
That's cool.
into your glass. So really excited to be putting beer out. And it's crazy. With the size of the brewery, we kind of expanded distribution pretty far, pretty fast. And now we're in 10 states, and they're drinking my beer back in my hometown, little podunk town in Ohio called Marietta. So
That's pretty cool.
pretty insane when I'm seeing people that I know from back in high school like popping my beers open
Yeah.
in our
pretty
hometown.
awesome.
And we'll talk more about your beers in a bit. We're certainly going to have to crack something open soon. But when Rich and I came a little earlier, of course, to have some dinner, we were starving after work all day. And I got a flight, and I just chose things from the Hunt Series side. And I have to say, I was really impressed. I love the variety of the styles that are offered. I love the creativity. And I enjoyed every beer. So I'm really looking forward to what we're going to have on the show.
Thank you so much.
So it's not just beer here. As we mentioned, the cider came first. So, Scott, now it's your turn to tell your story.
All right, yeah, I started here in December of 2013. This is before this was... So the barn that we're in right now was here. This whole basement, as far as I know, this whole thing was a hay barn. And they did have some farm animals down here. It was just a roughed up floor, walls, ceiling, everything had to be fixed.
So did they hire you as like a farmhand, and then one day they were like, "Hey, can you make cider? Because we need you to make cider like right now.
do it now."
Go do it now."
It's
I used to
120 years old.
I used to pull the trailer, actually.
You look good for your age.
Wow. Not him.
1892.
They always said a little elbow grease will do a long way. So.
But this, the whole other rest of the building was just a hole in the ground. There was probably 4 or 5 different contractors working at the time. And I started up in it was that, just like Pete said, was a 2-car garage. In the basement was the cidery. We have 2 Mueller milk tanks from the 80s. I started making the cider in their 1,200-gallon milk tanks, horizontal tanks. And initially, I was the first hire here. I was making cider Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday I was working on sales. Thursday I was doing deliveries, and Thursday and Friday I was doing deliveries. So it was kind of the whole thing in the beginning. And then I was also working a farmer's market on Saturdays just to start. And that was for the first year. And then Pete came on board, and then we also were building the brewery and getting that all in place, and then putting the tanks in. But to start out, I think I started making cider when I was 15 or 16. My dad used to have poker parties all the time that raged for at least 2 days straight. I was always really impressed they could keep it going. And they'd be like, hey, you want to have a sip of beer? I'd say, yeah, we can try it. And I think I was 10 or 11. I'd try a sip of Jenny Light, and I'd wince, and they'd say, you don't know what good stuff is. I'm like, I know that's shit. 10 or 11, and I knew it. And so my uncle at one point, he gave me a sip of some hard cider he had made, and my eyes lit up. He's like, you want to know how to make that, don't you? And I said, yeah. And a couple of days later, he slips me the recipe and pissed my dad off. But he never said no. So the first batch I made, we were on a family vacation. I had it in the closet. We came back, and I just threw everything. I think I threw 6 pounds of sugar into a 5-gallon carboy.
Wow.
And all the yeast and the raisins and the oranges and everything else. Put the breather in, and we went on a family vacation. We came back. It was a plastic carboy. When we got back, one of the raisins had gotten lodged in the breather and blew the whole thing up. My house was full of fruit flies. So that was a good way to start.
Scott, I didn't realize that the first recipe you ever brewed here at Wyndridge. It's your New England cider recipe, is it not?
Yeah. Well, not in a plastic tag, and less the fruit flies. And then I kept doing it mostly with found apples. So whenever I was driving around the county near where I grew up in upstate New York, around Honeoye, New York, and the Finger Lakes, I'd always keep a mental note of every apple tree I saw, and I go back in the fall, and I knock on people's doors. And I remember some really good moments where I knocked on doors and said, hey, you have a great tree there, you're just letting the fruit fall, what can I do? Can I grab all these? Yeah, we don't care. And I'd be up in the tree swinging back and forth 6 or 7 feet, and the whole family would be watching me out the window. And I got a press from some friends of mine that they got from a guy who was from 1910, a double barrel hand crank press. And we were pressing in his garage, making cider, just doing wild fermentations from who knows what kind of apples. And we were really happy with the results. We were doing all in-bottle secondary fermentations for conditioning, and loved it. Had a lot of good high school parties. People were wondering how I was doing it. I didn't really know how I was doing it. A lot of it did taste like really strong vinegar.
Yeah.
But some of it was badass, and I was kind of inspired to keep going. Things changed as far as going into college. I went and got a music degree, moved out to California. And I was living in Santa Cruz for 10 years. And in that time, I kept making cider. I entered a couple homebrew competitions. I won a few in the county. And I was like, I think I already loved it. And then I also met a few friends that had more and more fruit trees. I have pear trees. Oh, I have an apple tree over here. And I kept getting fruit from people and making more and more cider. And I was teaching at the time. I was kind of getting a little disillusioned doing one-on-one guitar lessons and group music theory classes, and I just kind of wanted to be like doing something physical again, doing some good work, and instead of just talking all day long, it was knocking me out just talking all day long for 10 hours a day. And then I'd be going back and then try to make cider in the evening or in the mornings, and then I was like, I'm just going to do this full time. So I started a small cidery out there, sold my share in that because I had a really good chance to go get my grad degree in Wisconsin. And while out there, I did some internship work with Apple Tree Vineyards in Burlington, Wisconsin. He's Charles McGonigal is a great cider maker out there. Got to do some work with him. And then when I came back to upstate New York to be closer to my family, I saw on Pro Brewer, Steve, who owns Wyndridge, was putting on an ad for a cider maker. And I could not figure out how to do just a straight resume to him as a message. So I ended up, because I'm sort of technically declined, I just put up my resume for everyone to see, and I started getting all these offers like, hey, can you come over here and help us make cider? Hey, can you come over here and help us make cider? So I was coming down here for 4 or 5 times before I was even offered the job. And in that interim, I also helped start Cigar City Cider down in Tampa, and I had never heard of Cigar City Brewing at that point.
Wow.
So they're just like, hey, do you know like how big we are? I was like, no.
Do you know who I am?
So I went down, and it was just like 2 airport hangars of fermentation tanks and canning machines and everything else. And like, Jesus! But I kept it under control, and we made some good cider, and I was happy with what we got. And I kept rolling. I helped a couple other places start, kept making cider, and then I ended up taking the job here and then kind of hit the ground running. We work with an orchard right down the road, Brown's Orchards. It's about 6 miles from here. They have 35 acres of their own apples, and then they also source apples all over Adams County, Lancaster County, and they keep them in cold storage year-round. And we kind of work with them year-round to keep things rolling.
You had mentioned that when you were swinging from the tree and everything, you didn't really know what kind of apples you were using.
No.
what's your favorite kind of apple to use? Like, what works the best, I guess?
Honestly, the best for cider is a really low, if not completely not fertilized tree. Like something wild, like something that doesn't get a lot of input as far as adding nutrients to the soil.
Okay.
Because you get a really high nitrogen content, you can get really fast fermentation. So you're looking for the slowest fermentation you can. And a fermentation that can not only be slow, but also be fermented cold successfully. And the longer you can take, the colder you can do it, the better flavor you're going to get.
I just thought to myself, how many types of apples
I was thinking
could you
that too.
even name? There's Granny Smith, there's Golden Delicious, there's...
Pink.
There is a poster in our brewery that has about 100 apples on it, so we'll take you up there later, and you can just read through.
Imagine
The
the styles
red
of beer
ones.
that exist, and then
Yeah,
that's
and
the
then-
same amount of apples.
Yeah.
I would think,
Yeah.
but I honestly,
And I imagine just like every malt and every hop and every yeast has its own characteristics.
every apple.
Yeah.
Every apple, and even depending on where that apple is
terroir.
grown
The terroir.
as well.
Yes.
Now, do you
Exactly.
use
Ooh.
just
Terroir.
Pennsylvania
Terroir.
apples?
Nailed it.
We do, yeah. There has been a couple times where there was just a real big lull in the apple market, and that was really because working with a commodity like apples, sometimes there's growing seasons and conditions that will just curtail your harvest. So you won't have as much as you're looking for, and there's a lot of people looking for cider and apples to make cider now. So we did have a period of time of about 2 months where we were sourcing apples from New York and Washington and Virginia, just wherever we could get it, but trying to be as close as we could, good quality cider. But then we went right back to PA now, so we're pretty well set. We put a lot of apples away this year, so we're good to go.
I guess for the other fruits, it might not. Like you have a cranberry cider
do,
as
yeah.
well. Cranberry. I assume it's apples and cranberry. I know beer, but I don't know cider.
Can you cider other things than apple?
Can you cider other
Well,
things?
like,
you
can
sell-
you do,
yeah,
like,
well, you
pear
could, well, you
cider?
could do a pear cider. A true pear cider with true Perry pears would be a Perry. But we don't really have that many Perry pears.
I recently
if at
learned
all.
this as well.
My mind just exploded.
I know, right? I just thought of another apple. iPad.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Knock it off.
So I have so many more questions, but I feel like I need a beverage in front of me. Do we want to do a cider first since cider came first?
Please.
Sure.
All right.
I'm
All
up
right,
for that.
I'm going to put Nate on that.
Let's do it.
So I've got a question about different types of apples then. Sorry, it's like Steph said, we know about beer. She obviously knows more about beer than I do. But
Pete, we love you too.
Yes.
This is uncharted territory for us.
We've been talking about beer for 136 episodes. We're
Yeah.
talking about apples for a little bit.
yeah. So some brewers will do a series where it's like the same recipe, but maybe different hops or different, something else at the same time. Do you do that with apples? Can you do that with cider?
We do that. We've done that with adding hops and post fermentation for like a secondary, just to age it on the hops. Throw it in a bourbon barrel, a rum barrel.
Whoa.
Let it sit for a while. Different aging lengths of time. So you
Yeah.
can get a lot of different microbiological changes, give you different flavors. So there's a ton of stuff like that you can do.
But what about, like-
blending downstream as well with different?
So what about like if you have the same recipe, but then you use Granny Smith apples, and then the next
Granny
time you use
Smith.
and then you use Golden Delicious, then you
Macintosh.
use Macintosh.
That was the one I couldn't
Thank you.
think of. Apple Macintosh.
So just one.
Fuji.
You're talking one apple at a time, just to get
Yeah,
that flavor.
like just
Oh,
like
wait,
different
wait.
kinds of flavors at the same brewing process
Hold on.
with different apples.
But
Yes.
we're assuming
Yes.
that the cider is made with all the same apple. Is that how it is? Or when you make it,
Is
do you...
it all single
It's
apple
always,
Is
cider?
it-
no, it's always different. It's,
yeah, I was gonna say,
So
I
it's
figured
a
you'd be-
combination
it's usually a blend of at least 7 different kinds of apples that we're
Oh.
working with right now.
Oh.
But
Well, that's kind of like beer. It's usually a combination of
Yeah.
malts and hops. Smash beers or something that are very,
Yeah.
so tonight, we
Special.
have
special.
2 of the ciders
Special.
we have tonight are actually single varietal. So one of them is 100% Northern Spy apples, and the other one is 100%
Nice,
Gold
there it
Rush
is.
apples.
Nice. How about them apples?
Fuji apples. That's a thing, right?
She just said
I
that.
said
Did you-
those are my favorite.
Oh, sorry. I was watching him open the cider
I
cans.
know.
Scott, listen to these cider noobs talking about all culinary apples when they should be saying things like Black Twig and
Kingston
Oh, yeah.
Mac.
Come on, hipsters,
And
make us
Pippin.
feel. Make us feel.
Pippin? Wait, did you say Pippin?
I sure did. I'm
So
I'm
the,
cider shaming you.
A lot of the apples, you're
Shame us.
All the apples you're talking about really are all dessert or culinary apples, so
Right.
they're really tart.
Uh-huh.
Most of them are high in sugar. They're also lacking a really important component for cider making, which is tannin. So
you need sugar, obviously.
Yeah, of
you
course.
need tannins, and you want
you'd like to have them.
Tannin.
You
You
don't
want a-
need them, but you really
Biff
like
was
to
always
have
my
them.
favorite
Do you want
character.
a-
Buford, Mad Dog, Tannin.
a sweeter or a tart apple, or does it depend on the kind of cider you want to make?
It does depend on the cider you want to make. It depends on the apple what you can get. I mean, when I go out, I'm looking for a tart apple, so a higher acidity, a high sugar content. I'm looking for a low pH, so something 3.4 to 3.5, and it's really quite lower than any kind of beer making, unless you're doing some sours.
Right.
So a cider apple is an apple that if you bit into, you would spit it out immediately. Trust me, Scott has had me bite into a cider apple,
yeah?
and it just dries out your mouth. And it's not like a sweet, delicious, like golden delicious apple or something like that.
So are there any apples that you typically use that we would have heard of?
Things like Dabinette, maybe.
Nope.
Is a really popular cider apple. There's a lot of crab apples you can use as well. That
Oh, yeah.
are
I know what a
popular
crab
to
apple
PA,
is.
like Manchurian crab apples.
Those are the ones that usually
chestnut
fall on
crab
the ground
apples.
that nobody wants to eat.
Well, there's ones that are used as pollinators in orchards, such as Manchurians, chestnuts. Hughes crab is another one that's really popular in Virginia right now. A lot of people are doing single varietal ciders just from Hughes crab. Super tart, it's really tannin forward. And they make great cider. So a lot of those are great for blending. So after you can put them with cider in the pressing process, ferment together, or you can do them separately, then blend downstream later.
Okay, I'm totally going to be honest with you. I don't like ciders.
Yeah.
I was really nervous about this episode. This freaking black cherry cider is freaking amazeballs.
Freaking awesome.
I could drink this all day long. It is so good.
Ooh.
So okay.
That's a good ooh. I promise that's a good ooh.
When you create something like a black cherry cider where it has another fruit in it besides the apple, are the cherries added at the same point that the apples are added, or do you like make the cider first and then the cherries are added like in a later part in the process?
So I used cherry juice for this downstream. So I used a mix of dark sweet cherry juice and tart cherries as well.
Okay.
So I use big drums, like 50-gallon drums with that, and I added it towards the tail end of fermentation where I was almost to dryness anyway, at the end of a straight apple fermentation. And then right towards the end, I blended this in and then just cold pressed the tank like you do at the end of when you're brewing a beer.
Right.
And then let it condition for about 4 days. And then really tried to get, so any sweetness that's in this, it's about, residual sugar on this is about 2.1. And any of the sweetness is all from the cherry juice. There's no added sugars or apple juice or anything. So
Interesting.
I think that's one of the main reasons I like it, because it does finish so dry.
It finished really dry. It's nice and tart.
I was really surprised the cherry juice when I tasted the cherry juice by itself, it was incredibly sweet. I mean, pressed cherries, especially the dark sweet cherry juice. But I did not realize once it was blended with a really dry tart cider, it really brought out the acidity from the cherries as well. The ascorbic acid, the citric acid you might have in there. So it's a nice compliment.
So what apple or apples are in this cider?
This is principally, so what we're getting right now this time of year, we're getting York Imperials, Jonathan's, Rome's, Galas, Fuji's. We're getting Gold Rush with
Galas
this.
are good apples too.
Northern Spy. I think I already said Stamens. And I think Rome's and Jonathan's, Granny Smith as well.
So you just said something interesting. You said this time of year. So you make a year-round cider, right?
We do, yes.
But there are certain, that recipe probably has to alter a little bit based on the apples that are available.
Yeah, based on the apples that we put away and the condition of them in the cold houses. And I work with a guy, Brett Cross, over at Brown's, and he always keeps tabs on the apples, how they're keeping, and they keep really well. I mean, they keep in cold storage, and these rooms are huge. These buildings are, in some cases, like half a mile long. And they keep the room compressed with nitrogen as well. So they only go in, like, you have to have your orders all ready to go, and everyone's in a line ready to go, and they go in with loaders, and they pick all the apples out of the bins and get out of there as soon as possible, because it's really expensive to keep it compressed with nitrogen.
Because we're sourcing everything locally here.
Yeah. Yeah, so all the apples were picked in Adams County, Lancaster County, and then here in York County, and then they're stored in a couple different packing houses, one in Adams County and one in Hagerstown, Maryland.
So when it comes to making cider, obviously local ingredients are good, just community-wise, environment-wise, but does the lack of storage and shipping time factor into it?
It does really help because the local stuff we're getting, really the acidity is still there.
Okay.
So malic acid is the number one acid in apples, and it really does start to degrade after time. And I've seen that from some of the stuff we got from Washington. At times we were blending that with juice that we already had here in PA, trying to get the best blend we could, but I could tell the malic acid content was a little bit low. So
okay. Interesting.
So I know that beer is made mostly of water, hops, malt, and yeast. So cider is obviously mostly apples, yeast. I assume there's water added.
Nope, no water added.
Really?
Yeah, but most of what you press out of the apple,
most of it is
it's water,
Sugar
malic acid, canic acid, succinic acid, citric acid. The main sugars are glucose, sucrose,
and
fructose.
Those are from the apples.
Yep.
So
it's all the fun acids.
So he has even less ingredients than
You
a
have
beer.
even less.
He has two
All
ingredients:
simple sugars.
apple juice, yeast.
Now, do you press the apples here, or do you?
We don't.
plus yeast.
We press them in an accordion press. It literally looks like an accordion rate that's 6 miles down the road. I have a video I could actually send you if you want to put on
that
the-
would be
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
That would be
Put it on the
cool.
website.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a very
Write this
important
down.
question. What is the ABV of this? Because I'm pounding it like it's apple juice.
6%.
6%.
Sorry.
6%. Damn it. That's dangerous.
It really is.
Actually, and I was going to bring that up because I've been studying the can here, and I noticed the 6% ABV. Is that like what is the general range for ciders?
It's
Or do
around.
they vary widely?
It's around 6.4 to up to as high as 8.4, 8.5
Okay.
naturally. It depends. You can get some if you press crab apples. Like I pressed 100% Manchurians 2 years ago, and I couldn't believe I got like I think 18 bricks. It was nuts. It was super, super strong. It just fermented dry.
Bricks?
Bricks, Play-Doh, balling, or specific gravity.
Okay, those words I understand. I've never heard bricks before.
Same as Play-Doh.
Interesting. Is that like a cider
Pretty
maker
close.
thing?
It's like
It's-
within 0.001.
It's a sugar thing.
Yeah.
It's a sugar thing. Interesting.
It's a sugar thing.
So you focus mainly on local Pennsylvania apples. On the brewing side, do you also? I know some brewing. I mean, obviously malts. We're lucky to have a few local maltsters, but to get big amounts of malt sets. But do you try to get local ingredients on the brew side of things as well?
I try to get local ingredients when I can. When we were first starting up, I tried to do a harvest ale at least once a year. Last year we missed it. We might try to bring it back again this year, but that one was all sourced locally. The only problem is with our size being a 30-barrel brew house. When I used to do the Wyndridge harvest ale, I literally had to buy out an entire hop farm. So just to give you guys an example, like the hop farms in PA
yeah.
are right now pretty young. They're only about as old as Wyndridge is, so most of them are 5 years or younger.
Yeah.
And it actually takes 2 years before a hop plant is mature, and really 3 years before it's producing at its kind of peak volume, because hops come back every year. So
Yeah, they're like weeds.
yeah. But so most of my hops are coming from Yakima Valley, Washington, or we do some with our New England style beers. We'll source stuff from Australia or New Zealand. Our Handsome Bull IPA, I've got hops in there from basically all over the world. I've got some from Yakima, some from Germany, and some from New Zealand. So they're not quite as local of ingredients unless it's a specialty harvest ale, just because of lack of availability currently. But actually, Penn State has been doing a great job with having education programs out there for young maltsters and hop growers in the area. So, maybe 5 years from now we'll be having a different conversation. I'll be able to tell you guys, hey, PA grows the best hops, and I'm getting all my hops from PA.
Right,
but
yeah.
Hops roll.
at this point,
Aw,
I would have to, if I
he's
wanted
my
to brew with
favorite.
hops year round, I would have to buy out every hop farm in
Yeah.
PA, and I probably still wouldn't have enough.
Have an exclusive contract for every single hop.
So we've heard from Scott and Pete, but Nate, what do you do around these parts, my friend? Sorry, I couldn't have timed that any worse. We're taking a sip of water. I have a way of doing that.
That's not water.
Taking a swig of vodka.
It's a brandy glass full of 11.2 ounce vodka.
Nice.
No, I work in the past 15 years in wholesale, working for Wrigley Beverage in Philadelphia,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then Ace Distributing here in York. And in April this year, 2017, I broke out and started doing some consulting work, basically bridging the gap, working with sales and marketing on the front end with distributors and as well as with breweries. So right now, my client is Wyndridge Farm Brewery, and I work with Scott and Pete on they produce everything and all the amazing products out there. And then right now, we are working on the repackaging of the Hunt Series designs, which you guys see in the front, all the new Hunt Series programs that we have here, as well as all the marketing and then outbound sales. So I work on the 9 states technically in the District of Columbia, working with our 6 reps, as well as developing the distributor relationships for the outbound marketing. So there's a lot that goes on here on the farm, and then I manage everything that happens with the brand outside of the farm. Is kind of the short end of it.
So we mentioned the fact that there are 9 states, I guess, NDC, that have Wyndridge products. What are the 9 states? I guess 8 besides Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so the 9 states, we're in Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, and then District of Columbia.
Do those form any kind of like acronym?
No,
Yeah,
he was
it's a
thinking
really
south
long
to
one.
north on the map.
No, I was
Merp,
just,
derpa, demerp.
I was just curious if you could build some kind of
I went
acronym out of
south
it.
to north, and I did a little hop skip over South Carolina.
Okay, fair enough.
It's probably a good move.
Not to disregard any South Carolina listeners that are out there. We still love you.
It's actually, if you look at it on a map with a pin, it's a constellation.
Which one?
A fox.
Pesca Jumba.
It's a fox. Pesca Jumbo the fox, apparently.
Are there any plans to expand distribution to maybe 10 states in DC or 50 in DC?
We're not at the time where we can share that information, but
Okay.
I can tell you that all opportunities are always on the table.
That was a very
Oh.
official answer.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh.
I always love the
All right.
I am not at liberty to discuss that.
Pull out the Men in Black pen and just flash their eyes real quick.
But only we could do that audio wise too, so we could do it to the listeners so they could hear it but then forget about it.
But we have a great time. We have 100 employees, over 100 employees in the entire company.
Wow.
Working with them has been really amazing, and the 6 reps that are out in the market literally live in those markets. So the experience that we have here at the farm is a little different than the experience that a consumer would have in the market, and that's something that we strive to be able to transfer to them when they're out there. So, like Pete was saying in Ohio, how do you experience Wyndridge Farm in Ohio? One of the redesigns that we did this year with the Hunt Series cans is actually putting the farm on the packaging.
Right.
So that's something that we've changed this year so that people in Ohio, in Alabama, in Georgia, New York, wherever they are, can actually see the farm. It's a literal illustration of the farm and get the real experience while they're drinking the product.
That's cool. I like
Speaking
that.
of drinking
Yeah.
product,
On that note,
Oh. Ooh, nice.
that was kind of a tag team sound effect there.
That is a sexy sound. So this is coming out of a crowler. So now we're back in our comfort zone. We're having a beer.
This is our newest release here that I'll give the sales pitch and then let him get into the details of the nitty-gritty. But multiple releases this year. This is going to be a pulsated release this year. So it's not a seasonal. It's not a year-round, but
okay.
it's pulsated.
Pulse? Is that like an official
Yeah.
marketing term?
If it's
or
not
did you
yet,
just-
I'm definitely going to trademark it. So if
make
anybody
that
wants
up,
to let me
'cause-
know, we'll,
Do it.
It's
yeah.
pretty good. I like it.
Trademarkia.com tonight.
Trademark.
But no, so pulsation throughout the year to keep it fresh. So it's a double IPA, nice high octane, real clean, crisp taste. Want to keep it fresh, so pulsate it throughout the market.
Ooh, it smells nice.
yeah, so, I mean, for a double IPA, the main challenge really, I mean, in craft beer, obviously, you need a good recipe. You need good quality ingredients. You need to craft your recipe well. But really, one of the biggest challenges that I did not know about until becoming a craft brewer was freshness of product out on the market. So getting the beer to consumers fresh is just a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. So that's why we're doing that pulsation, where we're going to actually only release this beer every couple of months. We're going to push out a fresh new batch just to make sure that we don't have, beer sitting in our warehouse and then sitting in the wholesaler warehouse and then sitting on the shelf. We want it to kind of clear out between each launch so that people are getting the freshest beer possible, and that any beer that was from the last batch is, already drank
Been
by the time
gone,
it gets
yeah.
there. Because I don't know if you guys smelled that as soon as I opened the crowler, but the hops are literally just bursting out of this beer.
It's like you're smelling like fresh hops or
Yeah.
hop pellets. Like you get that.
Super grapefruity.
Yeah, so this is the Handsome Bull
I was
double
going to say,
IPA.
did we mention that? So this is Handsome Bull, right?
So this is Handsome Bull double IPA.
On that note, Handsome Bull Double IPA. So this is a brand new beer. This is the first batch of Handsome Bull. This is loosely based on a recipe we did last year as part of our Hunt Series, the Wyndridge Farm Hunt Series Double IPA. We didn't get real into the naming scheme last year. We just went straight up. This is the style. It's the Hunt Series. And the Hunt Series, for me, it's kind of like a platform where I get to test a new beer out on the market, see how people react to it. This one we couldn't make enough of last year, so we decided maybe time to bring this into the main portfolio, let it become a beer that people can get semi-year-round, as long as they're quick enough to get out to the store and buy it when we put it out. And this one is just brewed with my favorite hops from all over the entire world. So it's got Waimea hops. Those are the New Zealand hops that are in that. And those ones have a little bit of pine and a lot of tropical going on. It's got Calypso hops, which are a little bit of stone fruitiness. Those ones I'm actually using as a first wort addition. So those ones are mainly there for the bitterness and a little bit of that fruitiness in the background. Some more of the Whirlpool and dry hops are Citra, Mosaic. Everybody knows and loves those two. Those ones are just, I mean, brewing a tropical IPA without those is hard to do. I love just sneaking them in there. And then out of Germany, we've got Mandarina Bavaria hops. So that's where that intense kind of tangerine and orange zest flavor and smell is coming from. The malt bill for this one, I've laid those hops out on a bed of oats and wheat, so it gives you kind
say that again.
just laid those hops out on a bed of oats.
We
and
like to
wheat.
paint pictures in our
I
descriptors.
want to lay your hops out on a bed of oats.
On a bed of oats.
So it makes the body of the beer nice and soft. Allows those hops to shine through on your palate.
They almost lost it with that.
You did. You know what I like? You know what I like most about this beer? I can see through it.
Yes.
It's an unknown thing nowadays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not filtered, actually. It is a completely unfiltered product. We do have a centrifuge here. Mm-hmm. So we give the beer a spin, try to take out some of that grittiness.
What's a centrifuge? We give the beer a spin.
We give it a spin.
Give it a spin.
And then lay it down on a bed. Well, you lay it down on the bed first, I guess. But
to get that soft body.
To get the soft body. And then you spin that soft body around.
Cushy pillows.
Yep.
We're now writing your beer descriptions for you.
I'm going to request that to be on the side of the can instead of what's on there.
I do want to mention in the notes here for this beer, named in the spirit of Earl Groff, grandfather and lifelong cattle breeder. We didn't talk a whole lot about like the history of the farm and the Groff family and how like everything actually like was initially incepted.
So yeah, the farm actually that we're sitting on was bought in 2000. It was actually became obviously a brewery and a cidery in September 2014. It's a 120-year-old barn and farm. So the farmhouse that's right across the street here, that you guys saw the red brick building, is not actually a livable residential farm. It's actually our corporate offices, so to speak, where everybody works out of there, and then also the farm here and the barn. The property itself, like I said, the Groff family moved there and bought it in 2000 and started that property and basically turned it in and really evolved it into what you guys see today as a wedding venue, corporate events venue, retreat, restaurant, production facility, the whole, I mean, anything you could imagine with the facility that you have here.
They jumped in the deep end a little bit.
It's
a
an
little bit of
88
everything, yeah.
It's an 88-acre farm,
Yeah.
and it's basically it does anything anybody wants.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I
cool,
feel
yeah.
like they took advantage of this location. It's just utterly gorgeous here. Even if you're just sitting in the restaurant looking out into the courtyard, it's beautiful. Even this time of year, reaching the end of winter where everything is still quite barren, it's beautiful here. And I've been here in the summertime as well, and it's so picturesque. It's like meant to have weddings here. And there's so many little nooks and crannies. Like right now, we're downstairs in like where the bride and groom, I guess,
The pub room.
The pub room. That's right.
This is where the groomsmen hang
The
out.
groomsmen would be over here.
We
and then
are right off of the Sparkle Room.
right, and then the sparkle room over there would be
That's
for
the glitter
bride.
hall.
Glitter hall.
Glitter hall.
hallway. The glitter hallway.
But
Glitter-
then
glitter hall.
upstairs, I guess opposite of the restaurant is a huge ballroom, I guess you would call it.
And we have a birthday party, a 70th birthday party with 100 people going on right now.
Whoa.
It's,
Above our
it's
heads.
Such
Happy
a
birthday to
beautiful
whoever that
room,
is.
and like
Is that how old
such
Tommy
cool
is?
space.
Yeah, it's Tommy 70.
That's right. It is Tommy's birthday. Happy birthday, Tommy.
But yeah, it's an amazing facility that has a lot of different facets to it, as well as the restaurant and everything like that. This fall, we started our first large-scale event with our fall festival. We started out with the idea of bringing 500 people was our scale of scope that we were thinking about for Fall Fest. We brought in 8 to 10 food trucks.
I think that everybody in York was here for Fall Fest.
Yeah, we left it as an open pay-as-you-go kind of thing where there was
Right.
no ticket price. We had well over 2,500, if not 3,000 people that showed up.
Wow.
So
That's
we
awesome.
ended up in real time, day of, using the field across the street and all like for parking and all kinds of. It was a very awesome day for all of us actually to show have the community really back and show the support for us in such a large scale for the first time that we'd have an event here that wouldn't be an organized event like a corporate event or a wedding or just a regular 2-person or family dining night out. So that was a large scale event and the first time that we had for that. So
That's pretty cool.
So let's swing back to the restaurant for a moment.
Yes, please.
Because real time, we may have paused to eat a little bit. Internet time, you'll never know.
Through the magic of editing, there was a meal between the cider and this beer.
It's just like when Triple D, when he does this thing.
That's right. That's right. But the food here is quite delicious. It is quite amazing.
It was amazing, yeah.
I enjoyed a veggie burger earlier. Right now I'm munching on some tempura vegetables, but there's everything on the menu from like casual, like snacky foods that go great with beer to great sandwiches and pizzas and salads, and then even some nicer large plates like entrees for a fancier night out. There are a few steaks floating around over here. So something for everyone. I would recommend if you're going to come for dinner, especially like on a Friday night or on the weekend, they do take reservations. But I was texting my mom while we were upstairs because I'm like, you need to come here with your girlfriends. They have sangria flights.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, she'd love that.
Oh my god! I'm like,
4
you need
different
to come
kinds of sangria.
and like
Wow.
sit at the bar and get a sangria flight and those purple potato chips with the French onion dip. Oh my god, my mom and her friends would have such a great time. But so like, it's such a diverse place here. Whether you want to come and have a romantic meal, you want to have a wedding, a birthday party, or just a few drinks and some snacks, there's something for everyone. But
So I have a question about the food then. Kind of like the ingredients for the beer and the cider, if that's all local, is the food mostly sourced locally?
So the food is sourced as much farm to table as possible.
Nice.
Obviously, we're not going to risk quality to grab something down the street, but as much as possible, we grab as much locally as possible. There's constantly vendors coming in from a local basis on a daily and weekly basis to sell us things that are here from a local standpoint. So I would say as much as possible, which honestly is what anybody would be able to say. So
Yeah.
I know he's getting the beef from PA and Maryland farms.
Yep. The other point too about the actual the restaurant aspect. One of the things too that outside of having a great cider program and a great beer program is the cocktail program here. So one of the best PA distilled programs that we have here, Jordan upstairs and his team produce amazing craft cocktails up here. So it's a weird aspect where we have phenomenal ciders, phenomenal beers, and then some really cool cocktails that really make it a fun night out at the farm. So
Yeah, thank you, Pennsylvania, for
Allowing them to
breweries
have it,
to
yeah.
now have Pennsylvania spirits.
That's
I mean,
pretty cool.
it's been amazing for the tasting room crowd.
That change has helped out our restaurant experience for all of our consumers.
I'm sure. And I know, like, one of the first times that we talked about Wyndridge Farm at Little Big Beer Fest, I think. Yeah. We talked a lot about like the events and the space and the restaurant and the food and all the other things besides just the beer and the cider. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up like at the beginning of the show, but we got distracted by talking about apples for a while.
Well, there's so many
we didn't
things.
get there,
There's
but-
so many things I want to talk about. So speaking of events, I saw that you guys have a chef's dinner coming up, which I know right now is in the future, but when our listeners are listening to it is in the past. But I want to mention it. It's a Spanish dinner, correct?
So yeah, it's a Spanish dinner, and actually it's a monthly program.
That's a long
very
dinner.
cool.
A month-long dinner.
It's a month-long dinner.
It's like
Let me tell you
Rich's
what,
dream.
31 courses over 31 days.
Nice.
We have cots, we have pillows, we have the whole... No.
That's what the ballroom's for.
Yeah.
So it's a monthly program. It's called the Chef's Dinner, and it is a monthly program that has a variety of themes throughout every month. We had a game foods where we had deer and all kinds of wild game type things.
Duck.
Yeah, I mean everything.
Jenga.
Everything you combine. Yeah,
Checkers.
Uno.
Jenga was there. Uno was there. There was a bit of Scrabble at the end.
Wow.
No, but it's a very
exotic.
amazing time. One of the things that we do pride ourselves in, unfortunately tonight, obviously they're working, but there's these two gentlemen here with Scott and Pete, but also our chef. He does an amazing job running his team over there. Obviously, you guys had dinner tonight. You just had your food right now. He's still busy right now running the rest of the people as we are in a still packed out restaurant. But no, so anyway, there's a lot of people that are really running a lot of things in this ship. Like I said, it's a company that's over 100 people. So there's a lot of vehicles that are moving here. And like you said, with the corporate bookings and the wedding bookings this year, there's going to be 90 weddings here on the premise.
Good Lord.
That's a lot of weddings.
That is
so
yeah.
running a brewery,
That's
a production.
3 months worth of weddings.
If you did one every day.
Right. I mean, we could do
Math is hard.
And we actually offer a discount for your second wedding if you're interested.
That is not confirmed, but Pete will pay for it, obviously.
It's not a
if that-
bad idea. I like that idea.
Oh my gosh.
It is kind of funny, actually.
There's also a new menu at the restaurant right now too.
So yeah, the new menu at the restaurant has a mixture of handheld products for lunch. There's combos that you can do with basically wraps and sandwiches and soups, as well as our regular menu items that you can go anywhere from your seafood pizzas. We have a brick oven pizza that is fired up and ready to go all day long, as well as any seafood and surf and turf items you really want.
I could go for a seafood pizza. I skipped over that on the menu.
No, all of the food is good. So we mentioned the cans, the ciders, and also Handsome Bull is now being canned, correct?
Handsome Bull is now being canned and only in cans. So there's a
Only in
mixture of
cans.
year-round products.
Which
that
are in bottles.
In bottles, and some of them now are in cans. So our
Nice.
crafty original cider, as well as our cranberry cider, are in cans and bottles. And then our seasonal products are also all cans.
And you have a store here in the lobby. Is that the farm store?
Correct.
The farm store where people can grab those products to go. So either on their way out after dinner, or if they just want to stop in and grab some beers to go.
And also,
Correct.
in the farm store, we're selling beers and ciders you can only get here. So we have a
Ooh.
pineapple tequila barrel-aged cider.
What now?
What? Wait, what?
Hey.
Hold on.
Did you say pineapple barrel? What is a pineapple barrel, sir?
You carve out a pineapple.
Yeah, so since it
Why,
left
hold,
immediately
on.
ordered, yeah.
Hold on. Why is that not on our lineup?
That was for the surprise, but thanks for ruining it.
Do you
Okay.
want it to be?
That was the after-hours surprise.
Yeah, maybe that could be last call.
I was going to bust out an apple champagne at 12%, but no, I'll do the other one.
Or both?
We'll back it down. We'll back it down.
Or
I'm
both.
sleeping here tonight.
And we also have two different single varietal ciders there. We have a farmhouse IPA as well, Pete made. So things you can only get here. We usually do 30 to 50 case runs of those, usually in bombers. So those are also available here.
That's cool.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I just forgot what I wanted to ask.
We
now,
also
so I'm
do
still thinking
bear,
about that.
well, we do bear release parties now. So our bear reserve, which is what they're talking about, which is the all that stuff, the tequila,
Pineapple.
the bourbon, all that stuff, the pineapple barrels, all those
Pineapple
pineapple
barrels.
barrels.
He cores out the pineapples and ages it into all the
Genetically
pineapples.
modified
Oh,
pineapples.
that's better than I was thinking.
60 gallons.
If you stay in tune to our social media and our website, we do bear release parties, which basically we give everybody about a week before it comes out to market on wholesale distribution, as well as some of the products only exist here, but some of the other ones you can get here before it gets out to market. We have those on Eventbrite and social media and everything like that on Facebook and all. We do nice parties here, and you get to buy a bottle, you get a glass, and then you get to hang out with Scott and Pete all night.
That's so cool.
That doesn't mean you have to they have to pay you. I mean,
doesn't mean you have to
hang out with
like
them.
it. Just
Right.
means you have to come.
Yeah, you don't have to like hanging out with them. You can get your bottle and glass and leave. You don't have to hang out with Scott.
And there was some confusion in the
now
past.
you tell me.
There was some confusion in the past when people saw the tickets on Eventbrite thinking that they had to buy the ticket and also get the glass and also come and be a part of this thing just to get the bottle.
Right.
You can just come anytime you want and grab a
Just
bottle.
grab
There's
it.
three
They're always
tiers.
for sale.
Yeah,
And
three tiers.
it's
exactly.
a big
Right.
place. It's 80-some acres, you said earlier?
88.
88 acres, so there's a lot of room to get away from these guys if you don't want to be anywhere near them when you come in. So, you can have it your way.
Now you had said bourbon
Have
barrel.
it your way.
I'm gonna let Pete jump in on that because that is one of the most delicious beers I've had.
I love bourbon barrel aged beers. It's no secret at all. So
All right. So
What's
this,
up with these?
This one's pretty cool because you guys were asking me about Pennsylvania source ingredients.
Yes.
So I've got an ingredient for you. How about a Pennsylvania bourbon barrel
ooh, where from?
from Hidden Still Spirits up in Lebanon?
Ooh, I haven't had their stuff.
They have one of the biggest distributions of bourbon in PA. So they actually are producing 2-year aged spirits in a first use barrel, which is by definition a bourbon. That's the history of it. It doesn't have to be made in Kentucky, it turns out. I always thought it did before I met Dave up at Hidden Still Spirits, but he informed me that you can make bourbon in any state as long as you're following specific guidelines to do so. And he makes some amazing bourbon. It's called the David E., and that is obviously named after himself. But really, really good stuff. Excellent bourbon. I bought a bottle from him as soon as he released it. One of my favorites. It reminds me of a little bit of like a Bullet bourbon, more of like a flavorful, just really good stuff. And he gave me 10 barrels from his first run of that bourbon, and we put a 12% bourbon barrel stout into that barrel.
Oh God.
And 1 year later, it came out of the barrel at 14%.
Holy crap.
So that one we released last Black Friday. I do have a bottle stowed away on the shelf in the brewery that I will run up and grab and chill down for you guys.
Sounds like a plan.
You might be my favorite person ever.
I don't know how you're going to get home. This beer,
well, I mean,
it like
in
for
the bus.
for 14%.
Well, let's see. How many
it is
people are
so
in this room right now?
so dangerous because it is really.
It's have to spread it out.
Between the van and the bus, I think we have everybody covered.
That's
Nate and
true.
I's got everybody covered.
Yes.
Nate's driving us all home.
Nate Nas.
Nate and I's.
So I remember what I wanted to ask before I got distracted by pineapples.
Pineapple barrels.
Did I see you guys have a stand at the Central Market in York?
Yeah, so there's a stand at Central Market at York as well as a stand at Brown's Orchards in Loganville. So that's one of the great things about the change in laws in Pennsylvania. We are allowed to exercise our spreading of our brand to farmers markets, which those two fall under there.
So can you give samples, or is it only beer to go?
Nope, it's samples, beer and cider, as well as package to go. So they can draft sample off the draft we have in both locations, as well as 6-packs and 6-packs to go. Yeah.
So you can't buy a pint and go around and shop.
Take that back. You can.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, thank you for elaborating. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I like drunk shopping.
Yeah, you can walk around to Brown's Orchards in selected areas as well as in Central Market.
I think
one of the great things about York Central Market, I'll give them a really great plug right now, is you have us on one end selling our ciders and our beers. And on the other end, you have an actual operating brewery called Mudhook Brewery.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of a cool place about
I know
shopping.
where that is then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's where we saw Ben Folds.
That's, right around the corner.
Yep.
At the
It's all coming
Cap
together.
Live Theater.
Yep. Which is the same place where we saw
Blood, Sweat, and Beer.
Blood, Sweat, and Beers.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now it's all full circle.
We've literally
circle.
come full circle now.
Great plug to them.
That theater
yeah.
is awesome.
And as well to the,
and the documentary.
directors and
And the
documentary.
documentary. We
Yeah.
had them on the show. That was one of
did.
our first ever phone interviews.
That's true. Yeah, that was fun.
Awesome, awesome people. And that was the first time we met them in person.
It was when we went
Was
to the
that
premiere
night in
in
York.
York. Yeah, because
That was
we
a
hadn't
fun
actually
night.
seen them. Yeah,
We were
That was
supposed
fun.
to
It
go
was a lot
to
of
the
fun.
big premiere in D.C., and we got an ice storm.
That's right.
Yep.
We couldn't.
Oh,
and
that's
we
right.
couldn't get down there because the roads were so bad.
Yeah.
And I was so mad because we ended up, it was also the Barley Mow's anniversary that day. So I was sitting
Yeah.
drinking my sorrows away at the Barley Mow, watching the ice cover the roads. And then it came to York. So luckily we got to see it there and meet them there.
That was
Support
during
local beer
Philanthrop
documentaries. They're
Beer
amazing.
Week.
Yes.
3 or 4 years ago. Yeah,
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, was it that long ago?
Time flies.
we've
been doing
all
this
hung out a
podcast
lot
for so long.
longer than we thought.
Ooh, yeah, I know, right?
We still recognize each other.
yeah, I know. I know.
So we mentioned the owners early, but I think we should mention them again and maybe perhaps mention where they are right now.
So
That's
yeah,
kind of a big deal.
It's actually the only reason I'm here is because Stephen Taylor Groff, the family, are accepting an award right now from the York County Economic Alliance on behalf of the company for the 2018 Small Business of the Year Award.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So out of the county, they are accepting that award right now. I just got a text from some people that were there that were like, "Hey, Winter's here." I'm like, "Hey, I'm also recording a podcast right now." So we are simultaneously. That's one of the great things about the way we work together is we can simultaneously cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of where we jive. So right now, it's on that criteria is on basically what you would expect. It's on business and community support. In the county of York in Pennsylvania for businesses of 100 employees or so and small business criteria.
That's really cool.
So Pete just came back and he set down a pitcher that has a bottle in it, which we're going to enjoy later.
Oh,
and it is quite beautifully waxed.
And it
with
is
some
the
maroon
last
wax.
bottle of this beer on this farm. I just took that out of my hidden private
on this-
secret stash. Just because
Look at his face.
So much
It was
fun with you
painful.
guys right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, you're the
Look at his face. It was painful.
It's not that painful. He's going to get to drink it.
I wanted to keep this for a year, but Nate assures me that he'll find me another bottle somewhere out at a wholesaler and pull it back for me.
Fair enough.
I'm going to be releasing this beer again in November, and I really wanted to taste a side-by-side of the two different batches, but
Oh yeah. No.
Well, now I feel guilty.
It's uncomfortable for me to
YOLO,
say here.
right? I mean, I'm on a podcast.
Yeah, hashtag
YOLO.
go.
I've had a couple beers. I'm ready to bust out the
You
good
bought
stuff.
a bus. You have this beer. You're
YOLO
on a
swag.
podcast.
It's a big Friday.
Maybe I'll just
It
go
is.
and
This is the
smash it
solid-
on the side of the bus.
No,
Oh,
don't
don't
do
do
that.
that.
Don't do that.
No?
Yes,
Actually,
that
no.
needs to happen.
No.
I got
That
one
would
foot
be
out the
pretty
door.
cool.
I'm ready to smash it on the bus.
We'll pour it into glasses. Then we will fill it with something crappy,
Fill it with water.
and then you can break it on
No,
the
no, no.
side.
We'll Godfather style and lay the plastic around the bus before you smash it, so we won't get anything shards everywhere.
What was the question? Line. Where's the teleprompter?
Waxing.
What kind of show is this?
What was the question?
Waxing.
He reads
Well,
whatever on the
okay.
teleprompter.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves because we also have another cider here.
We do. What is the cider that we have just been delivered?
So this is a single varietal cider. You had asked me earlier about what it's like when you're making just a cider with one kind of apple. So this is Gold Rush. This is a badass American cider apple. It's considered a kind of a mix between a cider and a dessert apple. It is, I'd say, mild in tannin, but it gives you an incredible mouthfeel, lots of tartness. This cider had to be aged for about 4 months because it was a huge tart, acidic bomb in your mouth right after primary fermentation. So it has to mellow out for at least 3 months before I bottled this. So this is 100% Gold Rush, and it has a very, very light sweetness to it, and I used cryo-concentrated McIntosh apple juice straight, probably in about 124 gallons of Gold Rush. I think I used
So
3 gallons of McIntosh.
Whoa,
apple-
mister. Cryo whatty?
Cryo concentrated.
Yes.
hold on. You can explain that in a moment. So the apple is called Gold Rush.
Yes.
And you also named the cider Gold Rush.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to clarify that. Now you can talk about the cryo, whatever.
All right, no, so this apple is badass. It's amazing for blending. It's really tart. It lends itself to a lot of different flavors. So it has an awesome minerality to it. It has citrus overtones to it. So the cryo concentrated juice was I got Macintosh, which is a really aromatic dessert apple. Froze it solid at negative 40 degrees. And then as it was thawing out, I was drawing off the bottom and getting the syrup off the bottom. And it was like 32 bricks apple juice off the bottom, and used about 3 gallons of that and
I know what that is now.
124 gallons of this.
It's not just the things that come across the border with drugs. So, Steph, I'm not going to leave you alone as far as the fact of cider. Like, I've said this to Scott before, I never liked cider before.
Someone's playing with his wax.
Oh yeah, he can't stop playing with his limited release bourbon barrel-aged product.
Yeah, I think he wants to cuddle with it.
The products
foreplay.
that Scott produces, as well as the education that it comes behind it, is incredible. So, 15 years of selling alcohol for a living, and I never liked cider until I started working with Wyndridge, and I got to give him some credit. Pete, I love you too, you know that, but I got to give Scott some credit. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
That's why he's known in the industry as Cider Miyagi.
Cider Miyagi. Oh, my.
I just like how
Apple on, apple off.
clean your ciders finish.
They're
do
very
all
dry,
of them
yeah.
finish nice and dry? Is that like your thing, or does it just happen to be the ones we've had?
I think it's probably. I mean, honestly, I try to make cider that I really want to drink myself.
Okay,
I mean,
I
and I
appreciate that.
hope people like it just as much as I do, and it's turned out well so far. I don't want to make something that's like, I hope people like this, but this is really, it's a good crisp cider. It's not, it really, there's hardly any sweetness at all, but it has so much body to it. It almost feels like there's a little bit of sweetness to it, but there isn't. So it's essentially a dry cider, but it has that long lasting finish like you would have from something that maybe had some more sugar added back, or
It
fresh
does
juice
have
added back.
a fuller, thicker mouthfeel than you would expect, both from the taste and the appearance of it, because it's very pale, very clear. But yeah,
and just to be totally honest about the nuances of making cider, and so I fermented this, and with ambient temperature, I was in a room that was pretty cold. It was around 46, 47 degrees during the wintertime. I pitched these. I actually fermented this in an IBC, and then I stored it in another IBC after racking it, and it had a little bit of a funk to it that I didn't like. And I'm like, I got to age this out, and I was kind of wondering what was going on with it. And after about 3 months, it started to just become amazing. Like literally, I would taste it probably once a week. One day I tasted it, I'm like, that's not quite there yet. It has this off flavor I can't quite put my finger on. And then 2 days later I tasted it, I'm like, holy crap, that's amazing. And it changed in 2 days. So a cider maker once told me you can just look at it the wrong way and stuff will go bad or stuff can change. And it really did.
Like super delicate process. Yeah. I've always been 50-50 with ciders for myself.
Yeah.
I don't like ciders that are super sweet or
Right.
have like a lot of other crazy stuff going on. Like the cherry one we had earlier was great because it's nice, simple cherry apple, nice and tart, and they are very clean. That's what I like is they're crisp, they're clean, they're dry, and I've liked both of them we had so far very much.
And you've
Thanks,
done some
man.
crazy ciders though, but I think you want to tell us about the sugar content.
I do. So I'd say the difference between the cherry you had before, that is being as tart as it was, you needed a little bit more sugar to balance that. So that was around 2.4% sugar, residual sugar, and this cider is 0.7%. So it's quite a bit lower.
I like the low ones.
Yeah.
So you've, like I said, have done some crazy ciders. You've done a honey cider, a mojito cider, several fruit ciders, and we mentioned the barrel-aged ciders. You've done wine, brandy, tequila, whiskey, and bourbon barrel.
And I'm actually really
ciders.
excited to tell you about, even though it's a very small batch, it's 60 gallons, in collaboration with Hidden Still up in Lebanon. So
Yeah.
I gave them because we can't make it here with our license currently. I gave them a red wine barrel. It was a neutral barrel. They distilled this cider, actually, down to 150 proof. And we put 40 gallons of that into a barrel. No, sorry, 16 gallons of that into a barrel, and then the rest of the barrel is filled up with Harrison apple juice and Manchurian crab apple juice. So they're both really good cider apples. So that the alcohol content killed any bacteria or yeast immediately. So it's going to age with that natural sweetness for a year and a half, and it's already badass. It's already a really good like apple brandy bourbon kind of
that
quality
sounds
to it.
really good.
So they will be
does.
selling
Yeah, it
that
does.
in bottles?
They're going to sell it all to us in
Limited
bottles. They're going to bottle it, sell it all to us, and then we're going to serve it here.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Unless we get a distiller's license between now and then, who the hell
No,
knows?
no, but
It
the
could happen.
cocktails
Steve.
and
The world will never know until it
the
happens.
world will never know.
They will eventually.
I feel like I need to know when that happens. So
You'll
I can be-
Follow them
know
on
when
social
it
media.
happens. It'll
All right.
happen.
Okay.
So
Good answer.
You enjoy working with unconventional yeasts. Now, I know what that means to a brewer, but what are unconventional yeasts to a cider maker?
Well, I mean, I'd say what might be considered an unconventional yeast to a cider maker is probably the most conventional, which would be wild yeasts that are found on the skins. And for me,
Like
it's
your beard.
Exactly.
Feel it.
No, but so the yeast that are found in apple skins, I would love to have a really amazing wild fermentation program here, but we also are using the same facility where we're pitching yeast all the time, and there's lots of yeast in the air. So I could probably pull off a good wild fermentation, and I have in other rooms in different areas of the property, but I could not do it in this room because there's too much yeast floating around in the air. But unconventional yeast, I would say, or some of them were the Kavik yeast I used for our grapefruit cider. So this was a yeast that was derived from a stick from a soothsayer in northern Norway, in a town of a man that was known to travel from place to place stirring worts with his stick. And yeast would come off his stick and then inoculate that brew. And everyone is trying not to die right now.
I'm imagining it as like a kid's picture book as he walks around from word to word
It's
with this
magically
magic.
delicious.
I'm picturing like the parting waters of the Red Sea. Like a big stick.
I'm trying to
coming
figure
down.
out if harvest the yeast for my stick. What is that a euphemism for?
Don't finish that thought.
This is a family
So
show,
basically-
please.
Yeah,
please.
right.
Family show. If you're over- if
Traditional
you're over
Norwegian
21.
ale. Traditional Norwegian ale yeast I used for the grapefruit cider, and it gave it some funk for sure. And it was a much warmer ferment. It wanted to ferment around 80 to 90, so it was much warmer than I'm used to, which is around 55 to 62 degrees Fahrenheit. And then wild yeast whenever I can in a different building, so I can ensure they're wild yeasts off the skins of the apples. Often we'll take so Brown's next door. They also make a lot of pies. They have a bakery, and they have this amazing machine from 1916 that still works. You set the apples down, they spin really fast, and razor blades peel off all the skins, and then it gets cored, goes into a little chute, and then they make pies out of the core of the apple, the flesh of the apple. The skins and the core go somewhere else. They usually just throw them out or feed them to cows. So I actually took those skins from the same apples they were pressing for us to make cider, poured a little bit of juice on them in a vat, and let them start to ferment because of all the yeast are mostly found in the skins and then the outer layers of the flesh. And once that fermentation took off, I would siphon that off into a fresh batch of juice and then let that start to go. So that's how I was doing a lot of my wild ferments this year.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
I like that.
I think we should have some fun. I think it's time.
Are we there?
Are you not having fun?
Well, I'm having fun, but I feel like we should turn the fun up to 11 now.
Do we want to?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
So, guys, you want to have some real fun?
Yeah, let's play this
Let's
game.
turn this shit up to
Yeah,
11.
I think we should. But we do have another beer. I want to say what the beer is first before we start the music. What is
That's
this
probably
beer?
a good idea.
This is the Pineapple Orange IPA.
This is the current beer, this current
Our
seasonal
current
beer.
hunt series. So this is the first hunt series of the year. I've got real pineapple and orange puree in this beer, as well as sweet orange peel. This one is also laid on a bed of oats and wheat.
Lay him down.
For all you oats and wheat fans out there.
So wait, is this right? In 6 weeks, you have sold 6 months worth of this beer.
6 months of
the-
2017's spring season.
2017. So
Yep, I'm actually on the third 90-barrel batch of this. I just brewed that
Wow.
this week. So last year, for our first quarter hunt series seasonal, we just did one batch. So this year, right out of the gate, 3 batches. So pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Well, this is a beer to have fun to.
It is, but if you were talking about the hunt series that is available right now, and the current hunt series, how would you abbreviate that?
Elaborate on what your question is.
Current hunt. Should we play a game?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Get out
I
of here.
followed that, but I felt like we dived into some stuff earlier that was a little touchy, so we didn't really want to
Can I-
dive in there.
Grunt?
We kind of left you on the island on there.
That's fine.
That's
Can
all
I
right.
phone a friend?
I appreciate it, but no.
Well, Wayne, what do we have after that?
Cheers, Internet.
You guys want to really have some fun? Just watch Pete work a 16-hour day, then give him a beer. Listen to what comes out of that mouth.
Are you dancing right now?
It's
He is
dangerous.
dancing.
We've all thought.
If only the radio world could see this.
Let's get.
I mean, it's good
dangerous.
music. Thank you.
This is a podcast trivia segment that is worth every penny of its price. Hey, we're playing a new game today, guys.
And let me guess, this game does not have a name.
It's called Beer in the Blank.
The no-name
Beer in
game.
the blank.
I focus grouped that one for quite a while. This is a game in which I am taking excerpts from reviews of some of the lowest rated beers on Beer Advocate, and I've left out a portion of those reviews, and you have to guess what goes in the blank. I will give you 2 multiple choice options, and we will begin in time-honored tradition to my left. This is a Revere,
Revere.
beer review,
Paul
or
Revere.
as I call them, Reveres.
The British are coming.
A review
The regulars are coming.
of Natural Light
Oh, God.
by everybody's favorite Anheuser-Busch. This review from Hot Opinions, user Hot Opinions, not as I originally thought, Hop Onions, but Hot Opinions. He says, this thing just reeks of, is it vomit and regret or disappointment?
I'm going to go vomit and regret.
Dan is saying vomit and regret. Steph, what do you think?
Vomit and regret.
Also saying vomit and regret. Scott?
Both?
Disappointment.
All of the above is not an option.
All right, going with the second option, disappointment. Pete, what do you think?
And coming from Pete, C, Snuffleupagus' left nostril.
All right, you are allowed to come up with your own answers. I will warn you that you will not get a point.
Son of a...
That's
you
fine.
have a 50-50 chance.
Pete's going with C. He's already given his answer. Finally, Nate.
Oh,
Can I add a category and say, hold my beer and watch this?
Hold my beer and watch this. We'll call that D. Obviously, you guys are wrong. Dan and Steph were correct. It was vomit and regret. He goes on to say, the feel of it is so thin, it feels all too much like drinking actual urine. Moving on, and Steph
urine
is,
would
how does-
probably have more of a mouthfeel.
probably, yes.
Also, how does he know?
Well,
I actually
He's
appreciate
rating
that.
Natty
I think
Light on
it's a
Beer
prove it-
Advocate.
It's a prove it scenario.
Pixar, it didn't happen. Steph, you're guessing first on this one. This is also another review of Natural Light. This is user Biborguzum, and he says, it smells of light corn mash and buttery blank. Is it cardboard or nail polish remover?
Cardboard.
Steph saying cardboard. Scott, what do you think?
Toenails.
Toenails? I'm going to put you down for nail polish remover. Kind of in the same ballpark. Pete?
Cardboard.
Cardboard. Nate, what do you think?
I'm going to stick with Pete on that one.
Sticking with Pete, also saying cardboard. And finally, Dan.
It was buttery, and then whatever the choices are. Right?
Buttery cardboard or buttery nail polish remover.
I've had buttery cardboard. It's pretty good. I'm going nail polish remover.
Saying nail polish remover. Steph, Pete, and Nate are wrong because the answer is nail
How
polish.
can nail polish remover be
remover.
buttery?
I don't know, but it is.
little garlic and everything just sets it all.
Oh, totally.
right.
Yeah. You put some Cool
Really?
Ranch on that, it's fine.
Two
Goes right down.
separate
Cool
off
Ranch.
flavors. I don't want to get
Wasn't
into
even thinking about
science on y'all.
I know, right?
Diacetone.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Boom!
I see what you did, and I approve.
Drop the mic.
Nailed it.
But
Dropping the off flavors.
Nice.
But don't really. He also goes on to say that he just noticed the mention of Pilsner in the label's description, and my own soul died a bit further. Moving on to
If you're
Scott.
writing reviews of Natty Ice, you don't have a soul.
This is true. That was Natty Light, but now we come to
Further in the depths of Dante's Inferno.
And actually, like, if you're commenting on Natty Light and you don't have a soul in Natty, it means that you actually have less of a soul. Even though it's light, it's actually a darker part of your life.
That's true. That's deep, man.
That's a beer that's made to drink long. It's a marathon beer.
It is a marathon.
It's not a
beer.
review beer.
No, it's not.
And we all should accept it to
Amen.
where it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I
And these
agree.
reviews are ridiculous. I don't know why these people bother to go. I mean, some of them go as so far as to say it pours like this, the lacing is this, the aroma.
Really?
Yeah, like fucking serious.
It drinks like this. I have a great time today. That's what it is the next day.
I could drink 30 of these in 10 minutes, and it cost me $2.
Here's all the stories I just told you.
I found 57 cents in my house, and I could afford a 6-pack of this beer.
Exactly. Moving on to our next review, and Scott is going to guess first on this one, and this is Natty Ice. This is from the reviewer Twy1609372, and they say, the only upside to this is that you're not paying a lot for your bad beer. It's kind of like paying $4 for some guy to blank.
Oh, no.
Is it piss in your cup or beat you with a baseball bat?
Oh.
Buy you a bus.
Before anybody says anything, can we also state the fact that this guy, while he has such great opinions about products, decides to throw a lot of numbers? Like, is that his cell phone number? Like, what
I'm not
is that?
sure
His
what
zip
it is.
code? Like,
It's
when we in
1, 2, 3,
Yahoo
4,
and
5,
Hotmail
TWI.
days?
It's
Is that his Hotmail account?
It's 7 digits. What's 7 digits? Not
Number
Social
of
Security,
DWIs.
not phone number.
Probably also his password.
It could be a phone number without the area code. Maybe TWI is the area code.
Gotta be someone with just a little bit more time on their hands.
Yeah, I think we're thinking about it too much.
All right, sorry.
What was your answer?
B.
Do you say B?
Scott said whatever B sounds
All
like.
right, whatever B is. Pete, what do you think?
What was the question?
Pick your favorite letter, A or B.
I'm going to go with A.
All right, fair enough. Nate,
I'll go with A as well.
A as well. Dan,
Hey, why not?
all right.
Which one was the piss one?
A was the piss one. Scott is the only one who was correct.
Hey!
Because it was beat you with a baseball bat.
Which is also the prize for this contest.
Peanut butter jelly
You
and a
got
baseball
an
bat.
assault and a reprimand and a discontinued review.
7 Digit Man can count as well for me waiting for him in the parking lot.
Wow.
By the bus or the van.
Like Mr. Fantastic with that
Or
stretch.
in between them.
And no one knows what the hell we're talking about.
Moving on.
We're never going to actually talk about them. That's going to be the beauty of this.
Yeah, right.
I hope so.
It's all getting cut out.
We're going to talk about it in last call, so like most of the people who listen to this will have no idea what we're talking about.
That's genius.
That is genius.
Pay $1 and you can hear it.
Pete is pay $1. You can. Pete is going to guess first on this one. This is a review of Keystone Light.
My beer.
His big brother from Coors Brewing Company. Obviously, this is from user OG Can Crusher 212.
Oh, the OG.
Hells
Hell,
yeah!
move over, Tupac.
OG has this to say about Keystone Light. They say, like the town it's brewed in, a mouthful of Keystone Light tastes like A, the distilled runoff of all the worst moments of your life, or God's breast milk raining down and filling every man's beer cup with golden deliciousness.
I am going to have to go with B because I happen to have met my wife on Keystone Light.
Nice.
How can you argue with that?
The beautiful woman to my
I think
left.
we all
Ladies
guessed
and gentlemen.
Is everybody guessing B?
I think we all guess B. How can you argue with that?
B? B's all around?
Sure.
B's all around? Everybody gets the B? Everybody's correct because it was in fact B.
Yeah,
It was in fact B. Killing it, OG Can Crusher. Okay, moving on
Love
Yeah,
you.
Pete's wife.
to our final review of the game. Nate's going to guess first on this one, and of course, we have to conclude with Bud Light.
Ah.
This is by reviewer SB 2017. I'm going to guess that's a year. And they say, this was a truly painful experience, but I'm glad I did it as a way to better understand blank. Is it the potential evil of chemistry or the mistakes we've made as the American people?
I'm going to shock the world and not answer on either because I honestly think that light beers have a place in the world. And
Are you abstaining from this question?
I'm going to abstain from the question.
I respect.
I'm also.
Soundboard.
Let's
get the buzzer.
I'm also going to chime in.
Cut his mic.
Is there a gong?
I'm
Is
also
there a
going to
gong
chime
button?
in.
Surprisingly,
I'm also
no, I don't
going
have
to
a gong.
chime in because
You activate the trapdoor
she
under his
has
chair.
or that person has a 2017 in their username, which means they're very new to the beer world, so they have a lot to learn.
And they're only a year old.
Or they're just new to the internet.
Mere infant/toddlers. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what we have working
Yeah.
with.
Okay, I respect your opinion. I will remind you that the game is not what you think of the beer. It is what this person actually wrote.
Oh, okay. Well, read the two again because you let me have fun in the beginning. Now
Yeah,
you
but
wanna,
your fun is going to result in you losing.
I regretfully have to inform you that your fun is wrong.
I respect that.
Your options for the answer are the potential evil of chemistry or the mistakes we've made as the American people. You don't get the rest of the quote, though. So if you don't remember, that's entirely out of context.
I'm just going to go back to my first one is hold my beer and watch this.
All right, saying C, hold my
C.
beer and watch this. Dan.
I'm going to go with A, the evil of chemistry.
All right, fair enough, Steph.
Then I'll say B.
Steph will say B. Scott will say...
Sure. B.
Okay,
Scott
fair
doesn't have his headphones on, so I don't think he's hearing any of
He
this.
has no idea what's going on. And
His answer was ABBA.
finally, Pete, if you say A, the first 4 letters on my scoreboard will spell out ABBA.
B.
All right. Fuck that right up. But you are correct. It was, in fact, B.
yeah.
The mistakes we've made as the American people. And we're going to add up the scores.
The mistakes we
Real
brought as an American people.
quick.
Brought to you by Budweiser.
Our big winner today, with 4 out of 5 points, only got the first question wrong, is Scott.
Hey!
4 out of points. Tied at second place, my fellow beer busters with 3 points each, Dan and
All
Steph.
right.
Coming in third place with 2 points, less than half, is Pete.
Respectable.
Yay!
And rounding out the bottom of the barrel with 1 single solitary point is Nate.
Hey, somebody's got to drive the train from the back, right?
That's right.
There's always the lesser guy that is driving the train.
There's always got to be a
Words coming out of his mouth.
flames on the side of my face.
But who's driving home in a bus? That's all I got to ask. It's
We will find out.
I think it's this guy over here.
I'm hoping I'm in the back seat of that one.
Can we all just tone it down? And just
So first, a little
closer
housekeeping
into the
before we
microphone?
continue this shit show. This is, of course, the part of the podcast where we shout out to our most generous patrons on Patreon, the top tier of our heart. People such as the one and only James Lamberg,
Lawyered.
Eric Dixon, Joe Mansell.
It's got a hair of Dutch.
The other one and only, but that one's no baloney.
It's true.
Sloan Peterson.
You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever let you down.
I didn't realize there was more to that. Sorry.
Brian.
Sloan. That is the name on the top of every urinal in America. If you have never noticed, look down next time you're peeing. Congratulations, Sloan, on an excellent name.
Where was I? Brian Mills.
Bacon.
Oak Brook Brewing Company.
I love all people.
Wolfgang von Colt.
Oops, I just sharded.
Jen McDonald.
Loved it.
That's not the one I wanted to hit. Whoops.
Sorry,
But
Jen.
he does.
Sorry, Jen. Marilyn Engelman. Be careful.
Where's your glass?
All right, fair enough. Josh Price.
You can't really stick your whole thumb in there.
That's one of my favorite.
That was really good. Ron McDonald.
If you're not a lank, you're a wank.
And finally, Victoria Miles.
I'm a rock solid 5, maybe 6.
If you want to find out how you can get on this list as well as get other cool behind-the-scenes and bonus content from Beer Busters, you can go to patreon.com/beerbusters to sign up to become a patron. Learn all about the process at patreon.com/beerbusters. Hey, Dan.
All about that process. What do we got to do?
I think it's that time.
It's that time.
We got to pay our tab.
I lost my wallet.
Oh, shit. It's a good thing we have commercials.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
Hey guys, we'd like to tell you about Casper mattresses. Now, if you listen to podcasts, you've probably heard of Casper. But if you haven't, let me tell you a little bit about it. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price of what you'll pay at the big box stores. Nothing is more important than a good night's sleep, except maybe a glass of good beer. Casper mattresses are obsessively engineered mattresses at shockingly fair prices. They have just the right sink, just the right bounce, with two technologies, latex foam and memory foam, coming together for a life well slept. You can try Casper risk-free for 100 days with free shipping and painless returns. If you want to try Casper, you can get $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting CasperTrial.com/beerbusters and use the promo code 50SLEEP. Start sleeping better today by visiting CasperTrial.com/beerbusters and entering the promo code 50SLEEP. Terms and conditions do apply.
This episode of Beer Busters is brought to you in part by Vinyl Me Please. Vinyl Me Please is a Record of the Month club. It is the best damn record club, in fact. Every month, VMP features one album that is essential to the modern vinyl collection and sends it to thousands of members worldwide. Artists include Betty Davis, Kevin Morby, Fiona Apple, Beck, Gorillaz, and I myself am the proud owner of a special marble copy of Weezer's Pinkerton, thanks to Vinyl Me Please.
Which is a good album.
Which is a great album. Each record is pressed exclusively for VMP members with features you can't get anywhere else. Things like bonus tracks, inserts, colored variants, and comes packed with a 12x12 album-inspired art print and a custom cocktail pairing recipe. And they know that trusting someone else to curate your record collection can be pretty scary. And of course, you've had your whole life to fine-tune your taste, and they certainly don't want to get in the way. That's why they feature swaps, where you can exchange a featured record with one from the VMP archives or a limited set of store titles. That way, even though you're trying new things, you won't be forced to take a title you already have or know in advance that isn't right for you. There's no contracts, no strings, no guilt trips, no fees, and you get top-shelf customer service to make sure you get the answers and help you need as soon as humanly possible. So if you want to sign up for VMP, which you will not regret, head over to joinvmp.com/beerbusters to sign up today. That is joinvmp.com/beerbusters.
No.
Your beers.
No, your beers.
Hey, Steph, what do we got?
I think we're the only two paying attention right now.
Probably. We're the only ones
It's
with our
our
headphones
own.
on.
It's like episode 1 again.
It is.
Aw. We should do that again sometime. I mean, I really like Wayne, but we should do it sometime. So, Dan.
Yes.
When I was looking at what was available here at Wyndridge, I noticed that there is a dry hopped cider on the menu.
I've heard about that.
I know, I've heard about that. So
Yeah.
I did a little digging, and I found an article from our favorite magazine, BYO Magazine.
Hey, I like that magazine.
On hop cider. So I'm going to teach you a little bit.
I also like Entertainment Weekly.
Okay. So modern cider makers are always looking for new methods of enhancing their ciders while simultaneously attempting to attract craft beer drinkers to the cider fold. Some brands attempt to emulate traditional beer IPAs with big floral forward notes and citrus-packed aromas, while others simply highlight or add complexity to an already flavorful product. Many former beer drinkers have also discovered hop ciders as a gluten-free alternative beverage. The hops provide the essence of beer in the cider without the prohibitive gluten, as you would know.
Prohibitive.
From your research, not because you're gluten intolerant.
Right now, a friend of mine was just diagnosed with celiac, so like, there's another person I get to introduce to all this fun stuff.
There you
so
go.
thank you for bringing that up.
The idea of dry hopping cider originated with Salem, Oregon's Wandering Agnes Cider Works.
Which one?
Planted by a Washington brewery that blended its cider with an IPA.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. I know. The concept of dry hopping ciders works the same principle as dry hopping beer. Once a cider is aged and is ready to be bottled, that's the time to add the hops. Hop selection is crucial, of course, to the development of balance and flavor components that highlight a cider. Using the wrong hops with the wrong apple flavor can get masked, or off flavors can compete with the central cider taste. So the key is lining up the right hops with the apple flavors present, which varies depending on the apple variety used.
So question, you said if you use the wrong one, the flavor could get masked. Would that be the hop flavor or the apple flavor, or either one? It could go either way.
Probably either one, but mostly the apple flavor, since that's more delicate. As many ciders tend to be floral, citrusy, lemony, and crisp, popular hop choices typically fall along the lines of the fruity hop, the fruity hops that IPA makers tend to gravitate towards. So your Cascade, Citra, Palisade, Amarillo, Simcoe, Galaxy, Sriracha Ace, Nelson Sullivan, and Centennial. Traditional bittering hops like Galena or Fuggle are also utilized by cider makers. Since isomerization does not take place, the normal bitterness attained in beer production isn't added. Instead, these ciders benefit from the earthy or nutty notes that they impart. So both pellets and whole cone hops can be used. One advantage to pellets is the increased surface area, which imparts more hop aroma, of course. But other cider makers swear by whole cone hops for freshness and crispness.
It's also why grated cheese tastes better.
Oh, welcome back to the podcast.
I've been listening for like 3 minutes now.
So for
Did
the
you
best,
just, was that pellets and Christmas? What was
pellets and Christmas? For more information on the best method for adding hops to your cider, how much for how long, and a dry hop cider recipe, check out byo.com. And of course, for your own free issue of BYO magazine, click on the red banner at beerbusterspodcast.com.
Yes, do that. I found that very enthralling.
Yeah, I felt like we were back to OG episode 1.
We were.
Just me and Dan.
Cough.
So Dan, hit the button.
Yes. Which? Oh, that button.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Round 2, fight.
I think it's cider me. But
cider me!
What are we drinking, boys?
We got our dry hop cider.
Hey!
Right
What
on
do you
cue.
do?
Right on cue. It's like he was listening.
It's like you were listening, but you weren't.
Crafty dry hop.
So this is actually, I think, the top of your list there. This was Citra and Cascade hop cider.
There you go.
Sometimes when Pete is still sleeping, around 5:30 or 6 in the morning, I will steal Galaxy hops.
You son of a bee.
Is that the point at which you invent your song for the day?
So remember we talked about earlier how the production facilities are coincided? There still is animosity.
Yeah. I think it's a healthy competition.
We usually start our day with a joust and move on from there.
Straight on to bocce. We only have 88 acres or so, or 77 acres, or 90 acres.
It takes a long time.
It varies.
It's a sessioned game.
So was your purpose for choosing those hops because you wanted to sort of emulate the popular IPA to kind of pull in those craft beer drinkers, or are you trying to offer an alternative to maybe people that can't drink beer? What inspired you to make a dry hop cider?
The idea really was I had a couple of dry hop ciders before, and what I really liked about them is they were so citrusy. That's one thing I was really looking for, is like citrus, grapefruit, watermelon, kind of like really good water citrus fruit.
Fruit, okay.
That's what I was going for, and those are the number 2 hops that I experimented with and really got those flavors out of them.
Have you done other dry hop ciders, or is this the one? You're like, this one's perfect. I don't need to do
I actually did one. It's dry hopped and actually hopped. I called it our Indra cider. So Indra is the god of merriment in one of the many levels of the Hindu religion. And he's actually the god of just getting off the hook, having a good time partying. And what I did is actually took hops and boiled the apple juice with them. So I actually followed a West Coast IPA recipe. No, but the idea. This was a bridge to people that are just craft beer drinkers that want to get into cider, or maybe kind of dabbling in the idea of trying a cider and really getting into it, because it does have strong beta acids, incredible aroma from the hops, and it does lend itself more towards the craft beer crowd.
It also tastes very good.
Yeah, it is quite tasty. I agree with that. I don't know. You might be. I'm not going to say you're going to convert me, because I am a beer drinker, period. But
you stay away from her, Scott.
You are making me a believer in cider. Like, I could drink this stuff.
Steph, I spent 14 and a half years only drinking beer. Don't really like hard liquor. Don't really like cider. Not blowing smoke because we're sitting here. He's got some great stuff.
Yeah, it's quite delicious. I really liked the single origin one or the smash one. What was the proper name?
Gold
for it?
Rush.
Yeah, but what did you call that kind of cider?
Single varietal.
Single varietal.
Just like it is. I mean, it's
that one's. I mean, I've liked them all, but that one has been my favorite. I feel like the delicate nuances of it. I just like.
I wish I could just like either call it a name or just call it Gold Rush cider. But it's funny to call it a single varietal cider because if you think about it in the wine world, like you wouldn't call it's a Chardonnay single varietal. No, it's Chardonnay. That's the one grape you made it with.
Oh, is that
Cabernet
what that
Sauvignon. That's the one grape you made it with.
I honestly had no idea.
Scott, you're preaching to beer people.
Yeah.
No one knows about wine.
However,
either.
Everyone wants this crazy story with this guy that was on a roof one time.
Yeah, and that other one about the guy with the stick. But if you had a dry hopped cider and you only used one hop and you only used one apple variety, you could call it a sash.
Double single.
It could be
variety.
a single apple, single hop cider.
What's in New York?
You're hired.
New York, they're doing single malt, single.
Well, single
hop.
malt and single hop. They smash.
There
Yeah.
you go.
So
Slop.
sash. You say slop?
You heard it here first, people. Sash cider. Coming up next.
Sash cider. I like it. You could have a sash session.
Sash session cider.
You could sash some.
You can have
sash.
all the alliteration you want right here, people. So refreshing.
TGI Fridays is going to be
watering.
scared soon.
Alliteration is refreshing.
Super Szechuan sauce.
We mentioned a few of the collaborations, I believe. Are there any other big collaborations coming up in the works that we haven't mentioned that we wanted to mention?
Heck freaking yeah.
All right, go for it, Pete. Pete Kolsch.
All right, it's actually Kelch,
I know, but it's Pete Kolsch now.
but now it's not. All right, we actually do have a collaboration coming up with Bolero Snort Brewing out of New Jersey. We're doing a beer for Philly Beer Week. It's going to be called Mutton Bustin', which if you all don't know what that is, look it up on YouTube. It's pretty amazing. It's tiny tiny children riding on the backs of sheep.
It's a very Bolero Snort name, too.
But actually invented by me.
Nice. Well done, Pete.
Yay.
Only because I'm going to go visit my sister in Texas next week for the Houston Rodeo, and I plan on watching a bunch of mutton busting with my Texas mustache. That's why I'm growing this beautiful beard out, because the mustache is going to be twisted for the rodeo.
Perfect.
So do you watch more mutton busting or school bus videos on YouTube?
It's pretty much an equal tie.
It's like 50-50? Okay.
But anyways, so Mutton Busting is going to be coming out for Philly Beer Week. It's going to be a really nice summer beer. We're looking to do an IPA. It's going to be a fruited IPA with lychee and lemon zest. So just a really refreshing, bright pops of citrus and tropical fruit. And then we're going to hop it with lemon drop hops and topaz hops. So the lemon drop hops bring in that lemon zest aspect, and then the topaz bring in that lychee fruit type of flavor. So it's just going to be absolutely dry hop to the teeth with those two hops. And all kinds of, like, I'm probably looking at using around 165 gallons of lychee puree in this beer.
Wow.
So absolutely loaded with citrus fruit and those hops. And it's going to be based on like a wheat beer base. So we're looking at doing the wheat beer base because wheat beer is really kind of a refreshing. It's got that bit of just like a crisp finish that I think is really going to allow both the lemon and the lychee to pop out and just make it something that you want to drink outside when it's hot. Philly Beer Week's going to be in June, so just really the start of summer. We want to start off with that beer and go mutton busting.
Go mutton busting. I like it. Is lychee fairly expensive as an ingredient, or is it? I know, like it's
kind of
it's
a spoiler.
more popular now than it used to be because you hear it in a lot of things now, and I feel like it's
Spoiler alert here, and also a request to your listeners: if
Okay.
anyone has a lychee supplier, I've only found two.
If you want to pay $6 a pint or $37 a pint, let us know.
One of them is incredibly expensive, and the other one ships frozen air freight out of Europe, so also incredibly expensive. So anyone that maybe owns a lychee farm or knows a lychee farmer, please
Pete at Wyndridge.com.
Well,
send it to
I'm
me.
a lychee farmer.
long-time listener, first-time caller. I happen to be a lychee farmer.
So I'm sure we've got 3 or 4 months to find them, but Bob and I have both been Googling until our fingers are numb trying to find a lychee supplier, but I'm sure that we'll find one.
I don't even know
before
what lychee looks like.
It's essentially a strawberry, and then the skin peels off, and there's like this white seed inside that is actually the lychee fruit.
Ah,
That's
interesting.
It's the God
The
fruit.
seed of God.
The God particle.
It's the Higgs fruit.
But it's got an incredible tropical fruity
Yeah,
flavor to
I've
it.
had-
So we really just are trying to
We
trying our
had
butts
something
off
on
to
the
find it.
show that had lychee in it.
Yeah,
a
I
beer.
forget where it was.
At least once
Yeah.
that I remember specifically.
And that's kind of the behind the scenes part of brewing. Like when you're doing these crazy beers that have some like fruits that you probably haven't even
Well-
tasted on their own or know what they look like, it gets a little bit difficult
The
to
interesting,
find them.
I feel like when you do beers like that have like an exotic ingredient, you do it because you came across the ingredient or a supplier of that ingredient. Like, oh, cool, I can get this. Let's make a beer with it. Not like I want to make a beer with this. Now, someone please tell me where I can find it.
All right.
It's
So
mostly the latter.
Let's back it up and talk about how Bob and I came up with the concept for the beer. So I was talking to Bob about how I'm going to this roadie. I'm like, man, for this collab, like we decided we wanted to do a collaboration beer for Philly Beer Week because we've been making a lot of beer together lately, and we just wanted to be able to kind of bring our two brands together and make a beer. And I'm like, I'm going to Philly Beer Week, or I'm going to Texas. I want to do a beer called Mutton Bust.
That's where it started.
And Bob went home for the week because he comes back every couple weeks, and he was back here hanging out with us, and he's like, Pete, I've got a vision for mutton busting, and it's literally the label is going to be a picture of the farm, and it's going to be a fox and a bull riding on sheep out on the farm, and I want these bright, awesome colors, and I want a beer that tastes like those
that?
colors.
That's really sort of.
And so we started talking about the fruits that we could bring in for this, and I mean, lemon and lychee they were the perfect fit, and then the hops. I mean, I made a beer for Bob the other day that had topaz hops in it, and I'm like, Bob, these hops are just like straight lychee. Like we have to do a beer with more of these because it was a blend. The beer that we were doing.
I've got a fever, and the only cure is
I need more
lychee.
topaz. And lemon drop hops have that beautiful like lemon rind kind of flavor to them. So just I think combining those two is going to just be something that's perfect for summer. And I'm really looking forward to making that beer. Obviously, like the recipe is still in the beginning stages. This is something that we're just starting to work on. So
you very much built that beer from the outside in.
Please, God, help me find lychee. I really need a lychee supplier.
Request for lychee.
All right, so before we derail this train, I think there's one more beer we wanted to drink, and it's a dark one.
It's a dark one.
What do we got, Pete?
So we have here...
Pete, not Kolsch.
Wow.
It really bothers him, Steph, if you haven't
listeners.
noticed the Kolsch versus his real.
You don't understand. Like, Pilsners are my favorite beers, and Kolsch comes second.
All right, so
it's a term of endearment.
Christina and I actually just did a Europe trip for our 5th anniversary
how fun.
back in December, and we were in Belgium at a beer bar, and a German guy was on a business trip there, and I told him my last name, showed him my business card, and I told him my name was Peter Kelch. And he's like, no, it's not. You have to hold your mouth in when you're saying it. It's Kolsch.
Yes.
And he promised me that if I ever made a trip to Cologne, I would be a living legend there. So our next trip to Europe,
10
we're
years.
stopping in Cologne, and I don't think we'll have to leave because they'll just carry me around on a chariot. I don't know.
Invite me on the next time. I'll be the guy carrying you in the chair.
Please videotape
That sounds
that.
like a great time.
Anyhow, back to the beer we have in
Scott
front of
too.
us because I'd like to take a sip. This is a Snow Owl Imperial Stout. This is the first beer I ever made as a commercial brewer. My first true recipe that was my own. So I'm pretty proud of this beer. This one is a 10% Imperial Stout that is spiced with gingerbread spices. So it has cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg, and a little bit of allspice. Cinnamon, allspice, and ginger, of course, because it's gingerbread. Cinnamon and ginger being the primary spices with just a small amount of allspice in there.
Can't forget that snap.
So this beer is quite a bit of dark malts, just a little bit of oats, and brewed to 10% strength. So it's called Snow Owl, and it is our holiday seasonal. We've come out with it the last 3 years. I was excited to launch it as a Hunt Series beer last year, so it was the first time that it was packaged. Before that, it was a draft-only product, and I'm hoping to bring this one back this year, fourth quarter. We'll see if we decide to package this one again in cans, or if it becomes just a kind of draft-only Christmas special here.
It's nicely spiced.
It really is.
Really, really well balanced.
It's not super overpowering.
Yeah.
with the
I
other
actually
flavors,
had
yeah.
this at the Reading Liederkranz this year at their Chris Kindle Mart. This was on tap there, and I got it.
Yeah,
Props to Sonny. Sonny was out there running that event for us this year.
Mm-hmm. It was a perfect beer for that event.
Our territory rep for Philadelphia.
Very cool.
So the spices in this beer make it incredibly dangerous because you can actually, like, before I add the spices in, I add these spices in post fermentation just so that they have that pop. None of that aroma gets kind of blown off during fermentation. But before I add the spices, it is a little bit hotter.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you add in the spices, like the ginger and the cinnamon, completely cover up any alcohol heat. So though it's 10%, I really think that it drinks like it's about 7.
I was going to say 7 or 8.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Tread lightly or give to your in-laws if you can't stand them at Christmas. I don't know.
Or drink it while you're with your in-laws.
Yeah, you could do that.
So I want to
Or
ask
because.
you one more thing. I know we're getting towards the end here, but you have this amazing facility here, this brewing facility. Do you do any brewing for other companies as well?
Yeah. So kind of out of necessity, we installed a brewery that was quite large here when we first started out, and it turns out there's quite a bit of competition in this industry right now. So we decided to fill out some of our capacity by bringing in contract brewers. That just started last summer, and we've had a really great time with bringing in these contracts. We've been able to learn a lot from each other. So I'm sure that your listeners are probably familiar with gypsy brewers, brewers that are out there who maybe don't own their own brewery, and they basically collaborate with other brewers to produce the recipes that they want to make. And we were fortunate enough to hook up with Bolero Snort Brewing last September, and started making all their canned products for them. So we've been making everything from Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Pebbles, Mosaic, Crooked Labels. I mean, every month is basically 3 new canned products for Bolero Snort, and we actually just added a couple more fermenters.
Strawberry cream, the orange cream.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep,
Magically delicious.
OVB, SVB. All over the map. We actually ended up adding 2 more 30-barrel fermenters so that now we can produce 2 30-barrel batches and 2 90-barrel batches for Bolero every month.
Thanks, Bob.
In addition
We love
to
you.
our own
We
beers.
love you, Bob.
Bob has been...
Scott, don't feel sad. We love you too.
Bob is literally killing me on the number of hours worked per week, but I'm working on training some other employees, and I'm hoping to have them online soon. But we've just been having a great time. Bob's a great dude to work with. We're making a lot of really good beer together and enjoying a lot of really good beer together when he's out here on canning day. Anything else about contract brewing you guys want to know?
Yeah, we're doing contract work in the cider world as well. Right now we're helping out Chad Kimmel is the owner of Grand Illusion Cider Works in Carlisle, PA. So it's a 15 tap right now cider tap room he's got going. So he's got ciders from all over PA. He's doing Arsenal Cider Works, Big Hill Cider Works, Sir Charles, Wyndridge. He's got different revolving taps going on right now with the cider up there. We're also doing some work with Castle Hill Cider out of Virginia, which they actually just won the gold Governor's Cup today for their cider they produce down there. They work with only cider-specific apples, so really tannin-forward apples. And they're looking to get more into the 12-ounce market for cans and bottles, and also in kegs and sixtels, because right now they're only selling in the 750 milliliter format, so it's kind of hard to push volume. In that they have some stuff back on the shelf from 2015-16, so we're doing a cider for them called Big Pippin, which is an 11%.
I love it when you call me Big Pip.
That's right.
That's right. We all know it's good.
A ginger, dry hopped, 11% cider. So I'm fermenting that right now with them. And we're also working with the former head cider maker and mead maker from Bee Nectar out in Michigan, Paulie Zimmerman. So he owns a company called Brewworks, and I just made Verbose Frenzy for him, which was a kind of a take on the Moscow Mule. So it's a ginger lime. We actually... So, Paulie, this goes out to you. You and I spent 14 hours hand-pressing ginger with my press that I made out of a bearing press from a shop. And it turned out pretty well.
Very cool.
And that was a mead. That wasn't a cider. So we also are able to make mead here because of our winery license, which is pretty cool. And that was the first mead that we ever made here, and it was freaking amazing.
Awesome.
It was delicious. And
maybe with date syrup as well from the date lady.
These guys took all the low fills and didn't leave me any, and I'm still pretty bitter about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with all the contract brewing, it's really amazing, but the dense and the low fills don't actually make their way to anybody else, so we have to work out on that.
They're
rest
all
of you guys.
mine.
Yeah.
They're mine.
So if you if you can produce mead with that winery license, do you plan on introducing Wyndridge branded mead?
I think we should.
There's a time and a place.
We have had meads in our tasting room. We haven't done anything packaged.
They
but
sold really well.
If you come here and join us for a drink or some food, you may find a mead.
From time to time.
You may find a mead.
Uh-oh. Scott and I's true personalities are coming out with the weird voices.
There's a time and a place.
It's like a
There's
late
a time
night.
and a place, and the blooper reel has begun.
It's like a late night at Wyndridge working. Like, this is
So
how it gets. It gets
also-
pretty weird.
Also in line with bringing in different cideries, we actually had an amazing opportunity. So we just had CiderCon in Baltimore just recently. And right before CiderCon...
CiderCon, I love it.
That's right. And there was over 3,000 people
Have
this
fun
year
with that.
in Baltimore. And so right before that, Carla Snyder, who does a lot of work with Penn State and a lot of different cideries in PA and Maryland and New York and really bringing a lot of people together, she ended up forming a class here right before CiderCon and brought in two UK cider masters and then one cider guru, Gabe Cook. And the two cider makers would be Martin Berkeley from Pilton Cider. So it was 100% keeved cider. And then Tom Oliver from Herefordshire as well, and he's a really well-known. He's kind of the cider guru the world round. So he does a lot, almost all wild fermentations. He has a many generation, I think 5 or 6 generation farm he's working on, and getting all the fruit from there and doing all wild fermentations. And he's done a lot of collaborations with Angry Orchard, with Ancho down in D.C. as well. But they came here and they taught a class for about 3 hours, and a lot of people came together. People from Albemarle Cider Works, Blake's Hard Cider was here, out of Michigan. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, putting it in a beer context, that would be like all the OGs of the craft brewing world coming to your place and hanging out for a day. So pretty cool. Pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
I can speak from experience. It was an awesome afternoon. I mean, I can't describe how that happened. So
That's awesome. So if you want to learn more about Wyndridge Farm, you can go to wyndridge.com. That's WYNDRIDGE.
DGE.
That's WYNDRIDGE.
Didgeridoo.
They're on Facebook at Wyndridge Farm and get all the details on upcoming events and releases. And if you haven't been, definitely come and check it out. If you haven't been for a while, definitely come back and check it out again because there are some amazing things going on.
That's very true. And while you're looking on the interwebs for things to check out in the beer and alcohol world, don't forget beerbusterspodcast.com.
Go there.
There's a lot of cool stuff there.
Call us at 805-991
69er?
Beer. Yes, we
got
did
it right.
805-991-2337.
There it is.
Wow,
There it is.
99-301-47.
Yes.
This is a first. It's the first time you've gotten
that was
it.
not
Yeah.
a walkie-talkie. There was no niner in there.
Did I catch a niner in there?
Niner.
Yeah, Richard. All right.
And you can also at us on Twitter and Instagram.
019er.
At Beerbusters. And, of course,
On all the socials.
Yes.
Hashtag number 22 shortbus.com.
Next up,
Yes, exactly.
We need to get to last
And
call.
Patreon.com/Beerbusters.
Dan, end it. Hit the button.
Unfortunately, this brings us to the end
That's a 10 for you, buddy.
Weenie in the butt on the radio.
of another episode of Beerbusters.
Pay $1 and listen to this last call. It's
Yes,
going to be epic.
it is going to be totally worth it.
It's going to be the only 50-minute
We're
last call that
shotgunning
you've ever
snow
recorded.
owls.
Yeah, right. Well, guys, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having us out here and treating us to all these goodies.
You guys are the best.
Oh, you guys are the best.
No, you are.
Oh, you
no,
are.
No, really, you are.
All right, you're right. I am. Well, I am Dan Baker, joined by my
The best.
co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Zoologist?
Wayne Baker.
Yes, zoologist.
Course.
No squids were harmed this time. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, guys, thanks for treating us to all these goodies.
Peanut butter.